It's been so long. I bet you thought this channel was dead. Super Jam Session. Super Jam Session. Super Jam Session. I'm sitting here waiting on Skyler Greenberg. Not Sean, though. He's too busy smoking weed. Smoking weed every day. Sean, you gotta save your lungs. Sticking me here with Skyler Greenberg. Lumpy Skyler Greenberg. He makes me think of Squidward. Alright. Skyler's gonna hate that intro. Let's see if he's ready to jump on the call. I think I found him. Let's call. Are you there, mon frere?
What?
Hi.
What?
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 Alright, Stone Cold Steve Austin, are you there?
Hell yeah.
Was that a cat I just heard in the background?
Yeah, that was Lucy not exactly liking that I'm taking her spot, but she can go fuck herself.
Wow. Well, I literally closed the door so my cat couldn't get in, so we're just abusing our cats.
Oh, please. It's not like you don't abuse everybody else in your life.
That is true. I including myself whenever I see a mirror.
The mirror said, he hate on me.
He was looking at my fiance funny, so I thought I'd give it a Kinshasa. You know how long I was in the waiting room, by the way? With my knee just pouring blood?
4 hours.
Close. 4.5 hours.
Ha, I still get that by Price is Right rules.
Price is Right rules come to save the day. So, by the way, I already started recording by the time that you joined the call, so you're going to hate the intro that I came up with, so...
Yeah.
He sounds so thrilled. Welcome, everyone, back to Super Jam Session. It's been a long time. And so long, in fact, that this channel was dead. So me and Skyler were like, hey, let's both grab those paddles, rub them together a little bit, go, clear! And now we're back. Isn't that right, Skyler?
Huh?
So, the topic of this episode, we were going to do an episode where we were just talking about music we like, but due to scheduling conflicts, we're putting that one on hold, possibly permanently. So it is just me and Skyler today. Sean, like I said in the intro, is probably smoking weed somewhere. Me and Skyler are going to be talking about movies. What movies in particular, Skyler?
The Sonic and Mario movies, because anybody that knows, like, Joshua's love of Sonic the Hedgehog, and my own personal love of the Nintendo games. Now, to be clear, Sean did go see both movies, and we do have some of his thoughts on the movies.
Yes.
So we'll relay them to you at appropriate times. Yeah,
I believe when he saw the Mario movie yesterday, he took acid before the movie started.
Which I don't recommend, but
imagine, not just imagine seeing the Mario movie high on acid. Imagine taking acid and then that troll commercial starting. My God.
Which troll commercial?
The weird troll commercial that started before the Mario movie, where they...
Oh, you mean the troll movie trailer?
Yeah.
That had that sequence for 10-15 seconds where it was literally on acid.
Yeah, imagine how mind-melting that would be. Just all of a sudden that happens, and you're just like, what planet am I on? But real quick, so yeah, Skyler set it up pretty good. I'm the Sonic fan. Skyler's the Mario fan. So before we get into it, when did you first get into Mario? Like, when did you first started playing Mario games?
Well, you have to understand that I was born in 1994, so a lot of like my love of Mario comes from growing up and playing the video games. I think the first Mario game I played was Super Mario Sunshine, and then I went through the different Mario Brothers games for the different stations: GameCube, the DS, the Game Boy, all that stuff.
The GameCube, yeah. Fun fact: I've actually never played the GameCube before.
It's a really good system ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It's just very limited when you look back on it.
I had a PS2, so I guess like because if you have like one console from one generation, you kind of don't need the other ones.
Like it kind of depends. Like for example, I started out with the original PlayStation, and I had the game, and a friend of mine had the GameCube. So we go over to each other's house and play the games that we had. Yeah.
Have you ever played a Sonic game before?
Okay. I don't know what game it was, but there was a Sonic the Hedgehog game that was for the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. Was it a fighting game or was it a side-scrolling platformer?
Side-scrolling platformer. You could play as Sonic, Free the Rabbit, Tails, and Knuckles.
That Sonic Advance 3, I have that one. And my computer agrees. My computer agrees.
Yeah, it was Sonic Advance 3 for the Game Boy Advance, which, by the way, that game was, like, the most broken thing, because as Kree the Rabbit, all you had to do was just throw the mini marshmallow, and you win the game.
That's Cheese the Chow. Yeah, that game is pretty broken. It was fun, though. I could never beat it because the last couple levels in the game are so freaking difficult. As for me...
It was the easiest game because, again... As Kree, you just had to throw the marshmallow and dodge the attacks, and it was pretty easy.
But as for me, I've only played like a couple Mario games. I've played some of the side-scrolling ones. I know what Mario Sunshine looks like because I'm a fan of Game Grumps, and they played that game. As far as I'm not sure which one. I think it was one of the Super Mario ones. I think it was the one where you're Yoshi trying to catch baby Mario who's crying, and it's really annoying.
That'd be the Baby Mario story games.
Yeah, I played that one like once. And I think there was another one I played. I just can't remember. But again, everyone...
And then, of course, I've always done the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. I've done Super Smash Brothers and played as both Mario and Sonic. So, and then Mario Kart and other stuff. And Sonic Kart, which was also a weird thing.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever played any platformers outside of Mario? I guess you probably played Legend of Zelda.
I was not a Legend of Zelda guy. That just wasn't my thing.
Honestly, me either. I think I played Ocarina of Time for like 5 minutes at my grandma's house like once.
For me, the games when I was growing up was Mario. It was a lot of Pokemon games because I was really into Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of others. Like, again, when I had the original PlayStation, the game I had was Need for Speed... Most Wanted, and I played the crap out of that game.
Me and my dad have Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, and we played that all the time.
I know, that was one of the funner games. Again, Need for Speed is probably one of my favorite, like, racing games things. It's just kind of too bad that, like, it's not looked as fondly upon as, like, Forza and other stuff, even though I think Forza is overrated.
Yeah. I love Burnout Paradise City. And the Burnout Rampage, I think it was before that one. Those are fun. I love the one where you can mode where you can just crash around in your car and destroy everything. That was fun. But
now, question for you, Joshua: have you played every Sonic game that exists?
No, I have not because there's a shit ton, and I've played Sonic 1 through 3. Sonic 2 is a phenomenal game. I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles is kind of overrated. I've played Sonic 3D Blast, which is not anywhere near as bad as people say it is. The first Sonic game I ever played was Sonic Heroes because my parents got it for my birthday one year, and I just immediately got sucked into it. I was like, this is awesome. I want to play more. Sonic 06 is probably the worst video game ever made. That's the one where Sonic kisses a human person and goes supersonic.
I mean, that kind of falls in line with his character. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, he was kind of dead, so it's also kind of necrophilia. But Sonic Team was on some weird shit back when that game was being made.
The point with that particular question is that I also have not played all the Mario games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know of Paper Mario. I haven't played that one.
Yeah.
I know of Bowser's Inside Story. I played that one a little bit, but I haven't played a lot of it. So I want to kind of be very clear in that we played a lot of the games, Mario and Sonic, but we haven't played all of them.
Yeah. And also,
I'm sure there are probably references in both movies that we're going to miss, but it is what it is.
And also, just real quick, other platformer games that I've played out. Have you ever played Crash Bandicoot? That's another one that I like.
I played the Crash Bandicoot mini games, and I played a little bit of the Spyro games, but I just couldn't get into them.
And another one, this one's more niche, that was kind of popular when his games came out, but then he just kind of died in popularity. Have you ever played Ty the Tasmanian Tiger?
No.
I love Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. He only had like 4 games, and one was a 2D side-scrolling remaster of the first one. Ty is underrated. Go look him up. He's fun. And I played like a teeny bit of Sly Cooper, and that's about it. So, which movie do you want to talk about first, Skyler?
I feel like because they are the movies that came out first, we should talk about the 2 Sonic movies.
Oh, boy. So, Sonic the Hedgehog won it, and Skyler actually had to borrow Sean's Paramount Plus subscription and watched both of them yesterday while I was in the hospital.
Right. It was one of those things where like I didn't feel like paying for Paramount Plus, and here's the thing: is that Sean, you can use Peacock Plus Premium whenever you want to. Just let me know.
I offered to like mail you my DVDs or like use my giant catapult in my yard to like launch you my DVDs, but Skylar was like, "I'm too good for DVDs." Harump harump.
They were not going to arrive in time.
With the catapult, maybe.
Oh, from South Carolina to California.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. It would get there fast.
Now, here's a question I have for you. Obviously, they've made, like, the animated Sonic movies, right? Like, before this. Like, there was a Sonic TV series, and I've seen, like, brief glimpses of, correct?
There's multiple. There's Sonic X, which is basically like a Sonic anime for kids. There's Sonic Prime, which just came out on Netflix, which is actually pretty... It's like Sonic into the Sonicverse. It's kind of weird. I told you about this one. This one's real. Sonic Underground. It was like a 90s cartoon where Sonic and his brother and sister are descendant of royalty and are in a rock band. It's bizarre. It is very bizarre. And there's Sonic Boom, which is a 3D cartoon that I have not watched because I fucking hate Sonic Boom. It is a weird spin-off offshoot of the Sonic series, and I just think it sucks ass.
Well, that's fair, but the point is that they made a lot of, like, different, like, Sonic anime TV shows, and also, like, I'm sure there was an animated special movie hour thing here or there.
Yeah, that was the first animated thing that Metal Sonic was in. And Knuckles had a hat for some reason.
But they didn't start making... Because they were planning on this movie for a while. It's kind of like with the Mario Bros. Movie. They were planning on doing it for a while.
Yeah, this movie was in development hell for a long time.
And, of course, the thing with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the first one, what's infamous is the first trailer and the first design of Sonic.
Oh, yeah. I remember where I was when I first watched that. I was at Winthrop before it was 2019, and I was going through a lobby at Winthrop because it was almost time for summer break, and I was getting my stuff together to leave, and that trailer dropped. I remember who I was talking to immediately afterwards, and the person I was talking to was like, "Did you see that Sonic trailer? That was fucking stupid." And I was like, "You're not wrong."
I mean, the thing is that, like, playing Gangsta's Paradise, which does not fit with Sonic's character whatsoever,
at all.
Was one thing, but that design is one of nightmare fuel things. Like, it's worse than a Sonic meme.
Dude, that first Sonic thing is... Have you ever heard of, what's it called? There was a movie that came out very recently, I can't remember what it's called, where they basically brought back Ugly Sonic and made him a character in the movie. What was that movie called? Chip something.
Whatever. We're moving way like into the niche shape, but the whole thing is that trailer, the first one, isn't famous for being terrible, and Universal having to like spend another 5 months to fix everything.
It was Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers where they brought him back.
Oh
as a
yeah.
But yeah, that was. I didn't hate it, but it was very bizarre, and I was like, yeah, people are not gonna like this. I did not hate his first design.
The first design was terrible. It didn't look like Sonic the Hedgehog. It looked like someone wearing a Sonic the Hedgehog costume.
No, it looked like someone murdered Sonic the Hedgehog and was wearing his skin. It was like Cruella de Vil got to Sonic. Was wearing him as a coat. A really fast coat that made her run fast. So she could kill more dogs. So, yeah. But then, when the internet, did what the internet does best and got really mad about it, they surprisingly, I still don't know if it was a marketing scheme, but they went back and reworked Sonic's design, and the contrast between his first design and his second design is just, it's insane. Like,
no, that's the thing, is that there's no way that late into production they would have said, let's send out a horrible trailer and get people angry at our movie.
It almost would have been the perfect scam to get the movie noticed, but it's also very likely that they were like, let's go with this horrific abomination, and then everyone was like,
we're talking about Paramount, okay? Yeah. And this review is going to spend a lot of time about me bitching about both Paramount, which made the two Sonic movies, and Illumination, which made the Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, there's some fair critiques in bitching to go around when we talk about these movies.
Hey, have you mentioned The Rock yet? I want to mention The Rock. You want to mention The Rock yet? Let's mention The Rock.
No. By the way, the other day, me and Andy went to go see John Wick 4, and the second I saw the logo for Fast and Furious 10 on the screen, I started booing in the theater. I can't believe that they're making a 10th one.
Listen, Fast and Furious is like Star Wars at this point. They're just going to milk that cow for all the money that they can get, okay?
It's a skeleton, though. You can't milk a skeleton.
Watch them. They'll milk it right down to the bone marrow.
They're like, not with that attitude, you can't. Oh, Jesus.
But here's the thing. Do we want to talk, like, plot for plot sequence the movie, or do we just talk about the movie in general?
Let's just give it our general overview first. And since this was your first exposure to it, I'm going to let you go first with the Sonic Movie 1.
Well, I didn't know what to expect going into this movie. Like, I've seen some scenes, but, like, I didn't see the whole thing, so, like, putting it together is what it is. The one thing we have to remember with all three of these movies is that they are kids' movies.
Yes, painfully so.
I mean, it depends. You can make a good kids' movie that won't make an adult groan. But if you do make the adult groan, well, then you got your problem.
Yeah. I feel like you groaned a couple times during this movie.
I did, because... the first, 5 minutes explaining Sonic's origins of being from a trans dimension, I wish we could see more of that trans dimension, though.
Yeah.
Because it looked exactly like the Sonic games, especially, the hills that he was running on, which was supposed to be Green Hill Zone.
Yeah. No, we had to go to Green Hills, Montana.
That 5 minutes had so much beautiful stuff that you wanted to see, and then they never showed it ever again.
Can I just say, while you were watching this movie, you were messaging our group chat your thoughts. My favorite thing was, you were pretty sure something was a reference to the game, and you were asking me, Joshua, is this a reference to the game? And I was like, no, that's just something they threw into the movie. And you just getting more and more confused.
Right, because obviously, me not being a Sonic fan, I don't know what's a reference and what's something that they came up with in the movie. I'm sure this relationship with the owl was cool, but, I don't know. There's nothing about it that screams to me. It's weird. Longclaw is there and then not there.
Yeah, Longclaw is a movie-only character, not in any of the games. Sonic doesn't really have parents in any of the games. He just kind of appears in the first game and he's just there. Although, again, in Sonic Underground, his parents are royalty, but that show's fucking wild.
Right, we didn't get to that one later, but yeah. This is like not a major criticism. I would like to have seen more with, like, you know, that story of like Longclaw and Sonic growing up under Longclaw's guidance.
Yeah.
But it's just like here's a character that's going to be kind of important, but we don't have time to focus on him because we have to send Sonic away to Earth.
Yeah, we have to bring Sonic to our planet.
Right. Now, the other thing, too, that, like, I have to, like, get into this movie thing is that I'm not into Sonic's personality.
Well, you don't like an edgy 90s kid? What's wrong with you?
No, but, like, I had to, like, I thought about it when I was, like, thinking about what we were going to say today. And the way I have to describe Sonic is that he's basically the hedgehog version, speedster version of Spider-Man. Where he's just going to be the wisecracking hero, which, once I got into that mindset, I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, the dialogue that they had for this movie was way better than the dialogue they had in the second movie.
Yeah, I can't exactly argue that. For me, I was fully expecting it, because that is Sonic's personality in the games. He's kind of a wisecracking asshole. And in the movie, they nailed that, except they kind of went back in his age a little bit to, you know, give him an arc to grow up a little bit.
Well, they made him a wisecracking teenaging superhero, which, again, it works. We've seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we've seen Spider-Man when he's a teenager, Stag Shock, Miles Morales, so on and so forth. And then the problem is that then we get transported to Earth, and we get this setup with James Marsden, which,
Donut Lord is on the scene.
By the way, do you know who was originally supposed to play this?
Who was originally supposed to play this character?
Chris Pratt.
Of course! Of course! It couldn't be anyone else other than Mario.
And the best part is that Chris Pratt was really close to getting this role to the point where he did live stage reviews and even had, like, his image put on one of the posters.
I remember that. That weird times. But then he decided he likes.
In another universe, James Marsden plays Mario. Best friend of Sonic the Hedgehog.
In a different universe, and Jack Black is Dr. Eggman.
And Jim Carrey is Bowser.
Oh, I want to see this alternate timeline so bad.
Right.
And the Sonic movie is 3D animated, and Mario is more live action.
Right, but anyways, they do this whole thing where, like, Sonic, like, they show, like, him growing up and all the other stuff and just the way his life is in Earth. And then the ring thing that they set up, like, I had to ask you this because, like, it never becomes a plot point in either of the movies, but Sonic only has a limited number of rings, right?
Well, the way it works in the games is, if in the games the rings are your life, he doesn't, like, have a health bar. You get a certain number of rings, and you're fine. But if you get hit, you lose your rings. And if you get hit with 0 rings, you die. If you get 100 rings, you get an extra life. They couldn't really do that in the movie, because, you know, if Sonic gets hit once, he's dead. That wouldn't make much sense in the movie. So, and also, at the end of each stage in Sonic, you get to a goal ring, and that, like, teleports you to, like, the you've completed the mission, or whatever screen. So they kind of fused that and made it a method of transportation in the movies, which I actually really like. But the amount of rings he has in the movie isn't really important. It's more about, especially in the first movie, whether or not he has any rings on him on hand. And it's actually a plot point in the movie that he loses all of his rings and he has to go find his ring sack.
Right. I just would like a defined version of he only has so many rings that he can use. It didn't become like a major plot point, but it just kind of like is whatever.
Yeah.
And then they do this whole thing where Sonic is introduced to the townspeople, and we learn who the townspeople are.
One thing that I do appreciate about this movie is they saved the fish out of water thing for Knuckles in the second movie. I'm glad that in this, when with the first Sonic movie, that's not like the whole thing of the movie, that he's just like, oh, Earth is weird. These are their customs. I like that he's kind of used to it.
Well, he grew up there and learned the customs. Yeah. Just from observing the people. Yeah. Of course, they do the thing with the crazy person where they draw the Sonic meme.
When I first saw this in theaters in 2019, that popped me so hard.
I mean, again, it made us self-aware of, like, okay, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that was proof right there that they know, they at least know how to get to either the Sonic fans' greatest dreams or just most horrific nightmares. Yeah,
but then they do all this, again, introducing the characters, James Marsden and his wife, and then a blatant ad for Zillow.
You want to know how this movie got funded, or how we were able to get the money to redesign Sonic? You can thank Zillow. Also, buy a house.
And the Olive Garden.
And absurd Olive Garden product placements.
Right, which it's whatever.
Skyler, have you ever tried their never-ending pasta bowl? It never ends.
I've had better.
I've actually never been to Olive Garden.
It's very much a mid-Italian restaurant. That's not an Italian restaurant, but it is an Italian restaurant.
This movie did not do its job in convincing me to go. It did not.
Yeah. But then again, James Marsden, the subplot on him becoming an officer in San Francisco, I didn't care enough for it.
Yeah, it was just giving him like a background thing, and it was to give a little seed for some conflict between him and Sonic for later on in the movie.
Right, and then again, this whole thing is that this like first 20 minutes is used to introduce James Marsden and Sonic and the community of Green Hill, and like establish what Sonic is, which is that ultimately he's a teenager that wants friends, but because of who he is and what he is, he can't have friends.
Yeah, and he's worried. So he's worried that because of his power, the reason why he was driven from his home in the first place, because the echidnas were trying to capture his power. He's worried about making connections with people because he doesn't want people to get hurt because of him.
Right, and again, it's that whole thing where Sonic is so lonely to the point where he's watching a baseball game and then he goes out at night and plays baseball with himself. Yeah. And it's a really cool scene, but it's also a sad scene because then it has the emotional weight that Sonic is lonely to the point where he gets so sad that he starts running out of frustration and then blacks out the Western United States.
Yeah, but does a coastal-wide blackout. So that's why my power went out that one time in 2019.
Well, you're not on the West Coast.
Wait, was that the West Coast or the East Coast?
No, because it's Green Hills, Montana.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Geometry is weird.
I mean, unless you, like, transport it to the East Coast and then blew out power to the East Coast. I don't know.
I mean, you probably
But anyways, the point is that this is all a setup to, like, the military coming in, which serves as, like, an introduction for something that will happen in movie 2.
Oh, yes.
But basically, the United States government is now on Sonic's trail. And they're like, we need to send the army. And they're like, no, we can't send the army. We need to send a specialist.
He's a psychological tire fire. That line always makes me laugh.
But this is also kind of like the introduction for easily the best character in both movies. And easily the best actor, not just in both movies, but I think this person did better than anybody else did in the Mario movie. And it's Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik.
Jim Carrey was born to play Dr. Robotnik. He is so amazing in these movies. He's absolutely insane and just absurd, but it's perfect.
And the best part, again, is that he said that he modeled Robotnik a little bit after his performance of the Riddler in the Batman Begins movies.
I can kind of tell.
Again, it's that insane maniacal genius that believes in his hype so much that he can do whatever he wants. I'm glad, though, that in his first appearance, they didn't have him do the full Robotnik costume and look.
Well, he's got to evolve into that because, you know, Skyler, it's evolution! It's evolution!
Well, I mean, here's the thing, is Joshua, are you in charge here?
No, I am not. I am not in charge here.
I'm in charge.
I'm in charge. It's me. Who are you again? Captain. Nobody cares. Captain. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So many quotable lines from that movie. From Dr. Eggman in the movie.
So many quotable lines from Jim Carrey, and again, like he's only on screen for 2 minutes at this point, but that 2 minutes introduces his character and pretty much makes him the best part of this movie. Yeah. And says, "Okay, you're in for a treat whenever this guy's gonna be on screen."
Oh yeah, he's Jim. There's a reason why Jim Carrey is my favorite actor, and he's Sean's favorite actor too. Just Jim Carrey is one of a kind, and if he's not gonna be in Sonic 3, I'm sad. But I mean, if he wants to retire, then that's his call.
Well, he did say that he's open to coming back as long as the script that is given to him is gold.
Well, if it's the same people writing it, then I don't see a problem with that.
Except that it wasn't the same people writing it. Most of Jim Carrey's lines, according to Jim Carrey, was improvisation, which you can definitely tell because he got into it.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing, too, is that what was your feeling about the robots that Jim Carrey had, and how close are they to the ones that Robotnik uses in the actual games?
Well, Robotnik uses a wide variety of robots throughout the games. Like, in the first couple games, they kind of look like bugs, like ladybugs. There was one that was on, like, a unicycle, Motobug. And then as the games went on, they got progressively more and more advanced and complex. Like, my favorite of the Eggman robots were the Egg Pawns, the orange, like, foot soldier robots introduced in Sonic Heroes. These looked like something from the later games because they were more sleek in their design, but they made sense for the movie because, again, in the games, some of the weaker enemies, and I like the progression of the Eggman robots, because he uses smaller robots at first, and then the longer the game goes on, the more difficult, he goes into the bigger robots, the bigger mechs. And while these didn't look exactly like any of the ones that were in the games, except for some of the later ones, they still had the Eggman vibe. I mean, they were egg-shaped, so...
But they're definitely adapted to be more like realistic. What would a robot in the modern times with modern military tech be, which is drones?
Exactly.
Like it's taking something from the games and not quite adapting it 100%, but giving like an idea of like this is close enough to where you can say, well, it's not perfect, but it is part of like making it work for the big screen.
Yeah.
Sonic, of course, realizes his... Sorry, go ahead.
And I really, really liked it. I really liked the Eggman robots in both movies.
Yep. But anyways, now Sonic realizes his home is no more safe. He wants to do the rings thing, but they're onto him, so he has to go somewhere. So he goes to James Marsden's house, goes to the garage, tries to teleport away. James Marsden shoots him with a tranquilizer.
Meow.
And then a ring happens to open up with San Francisco, and Sonic drops all the rings in a tower in San Francisco.
Yep. Way to go, James Marsden. You ruined everything.
He ruined everything. Of course, now Sonic is tranquilized. He's kind of stuck, and James Marsden has to help him. Well, first interaction with Jim Carrey and James Marsden, it does something that I'm glad that it, like... Here's the thing, Joshua. Have you ever watched the movie with a supervillain in it? And the supervillain does something dumb for no reason?
Yeah.
Like, I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
In this movie, they made Jim Carrey smart enough to realize that James Marsden is playing him. Or at least attempting to play him.
Yeah.
And again, it's a whole dynamic between Carrey and... Listen, amongst the human actors, Jim Carrey and James Marsden are easily the best two. Everybody else is kind of mid, to be honest.
They're just kind of there. They exist.
I mean, James Marsden's girlfriend is whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she plays a bigger part in the movie later.
Yeah.
But, like, the cop, Wade, I hated that character.
You know, I could tell, like, when you were like, I'm gonna watch both of these movies, I was like, I don't know how he's gonna take Wade, especially in the second movie.
Because, like, there's one thing to make someone a country bumpkin idiot, but there's another thing to have him act like a complete and total child.
He was more, like, realistic in the first one because he had, like, 2 scenes and that was it. The second movie, they really went nuts with Wade.
Right, which you're trying to, like, it's one of those things where I understand it's a children's movie. And this isn't meant to be like, okay, this is the real world where this could really happen, because obviously, no, it's not. But you're stretching a lot of logic here in order to make this work.
Yeah.
But yeah, while Jim Carrey is interrogating James Marsden, the robots are looking for Sonic. Mm-hmm. Sonic has to run. Jim Carrey walks in to see a raccoon eating a cake, which is normal.
Yeah, very, very normal occurrence in Montana.
Until Jim Carrey finds one of Sonic's quills.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
Yes, and when he saw that, I was like, oh, shit. And he was like, see? I'm always right. or however he phrases it. And...
Right, and of course, because James Marsden is aiding and abetting a criminal, according to the United States government, he has to be killed.
He has to be shot dead in his house by a flying robot.
By a flying robot.
That's a very specific punishment.
Yep. Sonic, of course, saves James Marsden, and they flee Robotnik. But the big thing is that Robotnik now has the quill, which allows him to access Sonic's powers.
Yeah. Well, first he has to analyze it, which leads to an amazing scene later.
Right. But now, like, James Marsden and Sonic have to, like, do this thing where they're driving to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they try to explain away the whole thing of why does Sonic need someone to drive him to San Francisco.
Yeah, he does. He was like, yeah, I'll just run to San Francisco real quick, and he runs, and he comes back. He's like, I don't know where San Francisco is.
I just ran into the ocean. There's a fish on my head.
There's a fish on my head.
Which, by the way, we haven't talked about the voice actor for Sonic. What did you think of Ben Schwartz's performance?
I really liked him. It was kind of hard to gauge him during the trailers. But I think he really taps into... Each Sonic voice actor brings something different to the table. Of course, my favorite is the one from Sonic Heroes. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I thought he was pretty good. He sounded like a very childish, immature, but growing a little bit Sonic. I thought he was pretty good for the movie. I would have preferred one of the video game voice actors, but I know that would have been a lot to ask. Although the voice actress for Tails is the voice actress from the game, so if they got one, why not get another? But I'm totally fine with Ben Schwartz as Sonic.
Oh, by the way, the answer is Ray Drummond.
Ray Drummond.
Ryan Drummond.
Ryan Drummond. He's my favorite Sonic. He was Sonic for a good while. Right.
And again, like, Ryan Drummond is the original voice actor for Sonic from 1998 to 2004. Mm-hmm. So he was part of the best movies about it.
Yeah, and honestly, that is the Sonic that I grew up with, because again, my first Sonic game was Sonic Heroes, and he was Sonic until they changed his voice in 2010 when they did Sonic Colors for the Wii. That was when the newer guy.
Well, he retired in 2004 from doing Sonic.
Yeah.
Because he did Sonic Advance, Sonic Advance 2, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, Sonic Advance 3, mm-hmm. Sega Superstars, all that other stuff.
Yeah. And he's always been and he will always be my Sonic, so it's always going to be a little hard to have someone else take the reins. But again, I think Ben Schwartz did a good job.
Right. Robotnik basically interrogates Wade, which leads to a phone call with Marsden and Jim Carrey. Again, when Jim Carrey is on screen, when James Marsden are on screen together, it's hilarious.
They have a good dynamic.
Right. It's overconfident bully versus not necessarily like dumb hero, but like hero who can whip back.
Yeah. And you can tell that Dr. Robotnik's like, you're not supposed to be this smart. You're supposed to be dumb. And that's honestly what makes their interactions so good, because James Marsden's like, I'm not as dumb as you think I am.
Right. And you have to know that James Marsden was trying his damnedest not to be overstaged by another CGI furry.
Yeah, that is kind of his thing. He's like, I like being in movies where I'm the second to an animated CGI character with fur. I don't know why. I don't know why he's in so many of those movies. I mean, I loved him in both of the Sonic movies. I just don't know why that's his thing.
Well, it's just because of how bad that Hot movie was.
Yeah, I have not seen that movie, and I likely will not.
It's just because it was just an excuse to make a movie for Easter because there isn't really any Easter movies.
And I guess he was done being Cyclops.
Right. By the way, that movie was made by Illumination.
Now, aha, full circle.
Well, we'll get to the Illumination part later because we'll get to that later. And then they had the bar scene, which okay. This was kind of where like I started to get really annoyed by Sonic. He just starts a bar fight for no reason.
Well, to be fair, he didn't start it. Those motorcycle, we don't like hipsters, assholes, they kind of started it. He did not help the situation.
Right. It's just one of those things where, like, Sonic is, like, trying to do bucket list stuff, and, like, I get that. But the bar fight, to me, it was an excuse to have Sonic show off what his powers actually truly mean. And that he moves so fast at points that everything slows down
It was basically a ripoff of the scene from X-Men Days of Future Past with Quicksilver.
But again, done in a comedy way.
Yeah. And honestly, I loved it. And my favorite part, though, is when he tries to smash the bottle on that dude's head and it doesn't break. And he's like, this is supposed to work. And he does it really fast. He's like dribbling it. That just tickles me.
Right. It kind of shows that Sonic, for all of its speed, again, doesn't really have power. Which kind of like, he has to compensate for it.
Yeah. And when he jumps over him and he does like a 100 hit combo, but it's nothing more than like a scalp massage. Oh god.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of like things where Sonic is messing with the bar patrons. Of course, he eats a bunch of hot dogs, which we'll get to later in the second movie.
Sonic loves him some chili dogs.
But again, like, then they have this weird thing where Sonic, like, the whole like "you're not my friend" or "you're my friend" thing with James Marsden.
Yeah.
Which it was the movie attempting to try and have, like, an emotional, like, gravitas to it. How did you feel about that subplot? About, like, Sonic and trying to find friends?
Well, I mean, it made sense. I liked it because in the games, Sonic is kind of a loner, and part of the games is him, helping his friends, making new friends over the course of his journey. Like, the whole thing in Sonic 3 is that's where Knuckles is first introduced, and they become friends over the course of the game. So, I really liked that he was kind of a loner in the first game, and it messed with him because he wanted to have friends. And I really liked the idea of, like, James Marsden wants to move out of Green Hills to become a more serious cop, and Sonic's like, you have a wonderful home, and you're leaving it of your own accord. I had a wonderful home, and I was forced to leave it. And that pisses me off because you're throwing away something nice that you have when I didn't have a choice. And I did like that conflict between them. And it felt like it felt logical because, again, Sonic was forced away from his home and people he cared about.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, but James Marsden wants to move from the rural area to San Francisco in the big city. Like, his motivation is also making sense. So I don't know why. Like,
but again,
I don't know. It felt like Sonic got mad at James Marsden for a decision that any normal person would make.
I mean, again, it's the difference between him and James Marsden, aside from human hedgehog. James Marsden is an adult and he's making a career-based decision. Sonic is a kid. He doesn't quite understand making those kinds of decisions. And, again, he's kind of traumatized by being kicked from his home planet. And he's always worried about having to leave behind a new place that he calls home. So it makes sense to me. If he was like an adult Sonic and getting mad about it, then it would be a little more ridiculous that he got so upset. But the fact that he's a kid, and kids often get upset over stupid things, it works for me.
Right, like, it wasn't distracting enough. It wasn't as bad as what would happen in the second film, but we'll get to that when we get to that. There's the scene where Jim Carrey is interrogating the brute, which in the bar, which leads to more funny scenes with Jim Carrey and him getting closer to Sonic. And then again, Sonic and James Marsden have an argument in the truck about all we just talked about until they get found by Robotnik, and then the robots start coming after him.
This is when it leads to my least favorite thing in the movie. Does Sonic have to floss? I don't care what year it is. I don't care what's popular. Can Fortnite get out of my life, please? I mean, it pretty much is in 2023, but for fuck's sake.
Especially because when you think about it, the floss dance was started in like 2014, 2015. So at this point, it's at least 5 years old.
But it got re-popularized because of Fortnite. And you know the backpack kid that got famous because he flossed and he looks weird and he doesn't make any facial expression other than neutral?
Well, the other thing, too, is that you have to remember, Sonic is literally 13 in this. Of course a teenager is going to do the floss dance.
I hate the world we live in. I hate it so much. And he doesn't do it just this one time. He does it later on in the movie, and I'm just like, stop.
Right. Now, again, the whole thing with Sonic is that now he starts getting angry because of the whole thing, and they start fighting against the 3 different robots that Jim Carrey and Robotnik has, which are all different types of cool. It kind of, in a little bit, it became like a Transformers movie for a second.
Yeah. Except not directed by Michael Bay.
Well, yeah.
If it was directed by Michael Bay, there would have been more tits and ass shots. And those weird, like, you know, those white firework explosions that he loves?
Yeah.
There would have been more of that.
But again, like, they do more with, like, robots versus Sonic and James Marsden. The whole thing of, like, James Marsden giving Sonic the car to drive so he can beat up a robot, that felt a little unnecessary.
I liked it. It was teamwork, and a thing in a lot of the Sonic games is an emphasis on friendship and teamwork. And I really like that it wasn't just Sonic doing everything, and you're just like, why is James Marsden is just useless? He's just here. I like that he participated. He participated in the plot.
Yeah, but also, like, you got a flashlight. You're a police officer. You shouldn't have a gun.
Yeah, he probably could have shot the robot in the face. But, again, it's a kid's movie, so...
Yeah, so they had to use the flashlight to hit the robot in the face.
Yeah, that's right, kids. Guns don't exist. Unless you go to school.
Yeah. And then they have the mini robot thing, which Sonic makes fun of until there's a bomb on his hand, and then he gets blown up.
Yeah. And then we go to his girlfriend. I think her name is Maddie. We go to Maddie's sister's house, and we meet Skyler's favorite character, Maddie's sister. And she is the star of the second movie.
So we get Rachel, who is every annoying, angry black woman stereotype.
Yep.
Which, like, why are you telling your own sister that she should divorce the man that she likes because reasons?
But isn't it obvious? I mean, they can't spell it out in the movie, but it's because he's white. We can't marry those whites.
I don't think that was the information. Thank you for going to casual racism.
Not casual anymore. It's over now.
Which also, the other thing too, like, to keep in mind is that, like, if you're telling your black sister that she shouldn't date the white cop, well, actually, no, now I think about it.
Wow.
I think about it in a second.
Now that you think about it, it makes more sense. Read between the lines.
Right. But then we get arguably the funniest scene in the whole movie, which is Tunes of Anarchy and Jim Carrey just going off.
Oh, yes. Where evil grows. That scene.
Right. Right. Robotnik is analyzing the quill, and while he's doing it, is just listening to music and dancing and playing around. Mm-hmm. Again, it's like the sophisticated mad genius just having fun.
Yeah, I love Jim Carrey's Robotnik. Shit like this is so just amazing. And when the power went out in his truck because he plugged the quill into it, he went over with that match to turn his thing back on. Did you notice the little sticker that said Badniks? That's basically what all of his machines are called. They're called Badniks. That was a nice little Easter egg right there.
Yep, and again, the whole thing with him playing off of Agent Stone, like, you're my favorite minion.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, they do the whole thing where Sonic is injured, and then, like, they revive him with the smelling salts. They tie up Rachel in the chair, which,
Yeah, the white cop gets to tie up the black person.
Oh, I'm sure the sister did too, so, like, we don't have to imply that racism. But then we get the small black child giving Sonic the shoes.
Yes, the shoes.
Thank you, small black child.
Thank you, small black child. Your contributions are duly noted. Thank you, JoJo.
Yes, thank you, JoJo. But again, like, the stuff with Rachel and, like, all the other things, like, it was funny, but it wasn't, like,
Yeah. I loved when she was like, okay, so we just saw a blue alien talking hedgehog, and I feel like I've had a handle on the situation. I haven't freaked out, but what is going on? I loved that delivery from her. I thought it was funny.
Right. They of course are now in San Francisco, and they have to climb the Kaiser Tower, which is a real tower in San Francisco.
Yeah. And we get the scene of them trying to smuggle Sonic in there in a bag, and he's like, I can't breathe in here, and they're like, Did you put your child in that bag? And he's like, oh no, it's not my child. And then everyone's like, what the fuck?
It was cringe.
It made me laugh. I have a thing for that kind of humor. It's not for everybody. It's not the funniest thing, but I just thought it was funny.
Right. Now, I will say that, like, depending on the shot, Sonic and the animation for Sonic, the CGI, sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks bad.
There are some shots where you can tell that they edited around, where they removed the bad Sonic model and replaced him with the model that looks like Sonic. Because James Marsden is looking, like, up at the taller, horrific first version of Sonic. He's not quite making eye contact with Sonic, because the second design of Sonic is shorter than the first one.
Yeah, again, it's also like they had to do a lot of, like, work really going around Sonic. Yeah. The budget for this movie is $85 to $90 million. They could have done a little bit more, honestly.
I think it's more that they had to scramble and retool everything, which, I mean, the parts where the CGI isn't that great, I kind of forgive it, because they did have to rework the entire movie around a second design when they didn't know they were going to do that.
Right. But again, it's also parts where, like, you have to be careful with, like, how... When Sonic is moving, it's fine. It's actually when he's standing still and he has to talk. If you look close enough, you can tell, like, yeah, as much as they're trying, Sonic does still look like a computer animated effect, which is whatever.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But again, like, we have to go with this into, like, a service, like, detail. Like, we know this is a children's CGI movie. We know that, like, things are, things aren't gonna be perfect, but they're gonna have to be what they are in order to make this work. And then Robotnik, after this heartfelt moment with James Marsden and Maddie, I'm not even saying James Marsden's name, Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
The Donut Lord.
Donut Lord and Pretzel Lady. Pretzel Lady. She was born without bones.
Yep. And then Robotnik comes in his flight suit.
Oh yes, the iconic suit. And his little pod.
Not quite the iconic suit. Not quite the iconic suit.
Stage 1 of the iconic suit.
Right. The real iconic suit comes in part 2, yes, which we'll get to in a second. But then they have this thing where Sonic, in slow motion, throws Donut Lord and Pretzel Lady off the building.
Yeah, and then transports them to a farm, and they're like, Bess is about to give birth. Help us pull the cow out of this cow's vagina.
Well, hold on. Before they do that, they go through this like battle sequence where Sonic has the rings and is being chased by Robotnik, and basically the chase goes from San Francisco to different places based on where he throws the rings.
Yeah, he's trying to outmaneuver Eggman.
Right. Which, the reason why Eggman is able to keep up is because he has a quill up from Sonic. He's able to keep up because he has somewhat similar speed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no way Robotnik would be able to keep up with Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, exactly. And I love when Sonic first goes slow-mo and there's that one shot of Eggman's face where his tongue is out and he's like, I'm about to push the button, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This entire video is just going to be us gushing about Jim Carrey as Eggman.
Yeah. But again, like, they do this whole thing where they chase each other throughout the world and, like, going through places. They go through Paris, they go through China, and then they get to Egypt.
Yes!
And after barking about an illegal left turn, Robotnik gets angry that Sonic is running up the Great Pyramids when Robotnik, not 1 minute earlier, blew up the Great Sphinx.
Yeah, he's like, that's one of the 7 wonders! And I like how he said that's one of the 7 wonders, not the 8th, because he destroyed one of the 8. Now there's just 7.
Right. Now, are you ready for a plot hole?
Oh no, what is it?
So, let me double check something real quickly. When Sonic teleported James Marsden when he teleported Tom and Maddie back to Green Hill, right? And they were in the farm? It was daytime, right?
It was at some point in the evening.
It was some point in the evening, but it was mostly daytime, right?
Yeah, and then when Sonic, like a couple minutes later, he goes to Green Hills, it's dark.
It is completely dark.
I think the implication might be that while they only showed us some of the chase, and they actually chased each other for like maybe an hour or so. I do see what you mean.
But that doesn't make sense because Sonic literally runs fast.
Yeah.
So
they did that just to make the scene more ominous and dramatic, but yeah, it's like the world sped up a little bit.
Right, like it's not Superman running around the world making time go by faster.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean.
But you get my point of, like, why, like, that's a little bit of a plot hole. It's not enough to take away from the movie, but it is, like, bad. We get a little scene where Robotnik is fighting Tom. I actually like that Robotnik wins most of his physical fights. It doesn't just show that he's a genius, but also a capable fighter.
Yeah.
And then
he was raised by that Native American tribe.
Right, and then we get this whole thing of, like, friendship makes you powerful, and which, again, this was the part of the film where it's like, okay, so this is a Dragon Ball Z ripoff.
Well, to be fair, Sonic has kind of always been a Dragon Ball Z ripoff, so it is perfectly in line with Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right, which is fine. Whatever. But then we get this whole thing where Sonic was destroying Robotnik's plane crash. I really wish that Sonic would have destroyed the plane in 8 hits, because that's how you win in the Sonic games.
Well, they wanted to show more like how ridiculously OP and fast he is when his powers are activated, and it was also a reference to Sonic Spinball.
Yeah. Anyways, we get this, and then Sonic decides to punish Robotnik by banishing him to Mushroom Land.
To the Mushroom World.
Which, I kind of was like, is that a ripoff of the Mushroom Kingdoms or a shot at the Mushroom Kingdom?
I believe it is. I mean, every time they said that, I'm just like, yep. The Sega does when Nintendo don't.
Yeah.
That's all I can think whenever that comes up.
But yeah, Sonic is accepted by the community. They show the aftermatch, which is the army comes to apologize and gives them a $50 gift card for the Olive Garden. Again, blatant product placement.
What a reward for saving your town. Hey, go to Olive Garden. Sponsored by the U.S. government.
Right, and then the final conclusion, which is that Sonic is going to live now with Tom and Maddie, which is nice, in Green Hill. And then the ending shot, of course, is that we get Robotnik now in the mushroom world, but looking like the actual Robotnik with the mustache and the bald head.
Yeah, and totally not. My grasp on sanity remains intact.
Not.
Agent Stone, do reconnaissance. Haha, that's hilarious. What's the matter with you?
Right. And then they go through the credits, and then the final credit end scene that they do, that Marvel started, which is the whole Avengers thing.
Yeah.
Which is they have Tails show up and looking for Sonic.
Yes.
Which is directly a start to the second movie.
And when I first saw this movie in theaters in 2019, it was early 2020. It was this was like days before the pandemic started. But when this first came out, that would have popped me so hard. If it wasn't for the day before, I didn't even type anything. I went on YouTube, and the first thing I saw was a thumbnail for a camera-recorded video in the theater, and it was Tails' big old face. And I immediately was like, shit, he's in the post-credit scene. I can't unsee that now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Internet. You ruin everything.
Yeah. But here's the thing. As much as I'm praising this movie, may I start my critiques of it?
Yes, of which I assume you have plenty.
Right. Besides the advertisement thing, which we've mentioned, the family-friendly messages, like, personally, there were points where the humor was making me groan. Listen, when Jim Carrey was doing the cheesy humor, it worked pretty much every time that he was doing it. Is that fair?
Yes.
When James Marsden was doing some of the cheesy humor, for the most part, it worked. There was a line here or there where I'm just like, okay, this is a little ridiculous. Especially the whole Donut Lord nickname thing, which, man. With me so far, correct?
Yes.
Every other human besides Maddie annoyed me with their dialogue or the way that they chose to deliver the lines. Like, the way that the military people talked is not how military people talk. The way that, like, Wade the sheriff talked was bad.
What, you didn't like a grown man talking like a 5-year-old?
Right, and then the whole Rachel thing, which, whatever. But do you want to know what I thought when I was watching this movie and I was about to watch the second one?
What?
Like, I bet everything that I hate in this movie is going to get more screen time in the second one.
Oh, absolutely. They doubled down on shit in the second movie.
Right. I felt like the first movie... The other thing, too, that I kind of was, like, a little bit critical was that the first movie, at times, it was kind of boringly slow-paced. Like, they were building up the stuff, which I appreciate. But it felt boring at certain points, especially, like, the car driving scenes. Like, come on, I want to see Sonic run fast. That's the reason why I'm coming to this movie.
It was like the Phantom Menace, where important things were happening in not the most interesting way.
Right, because there was a lot of setup to this movie. Now, the 1 hour and 38-minute runtime, it wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't to the point of, like, going to a complete draw of, like, nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. It's just that it felt like you could have had maybe a few more exciting scenes here and there, but that's a nitpick. Yeah. I thought for what it could have been, this was a very good adaptation and a good video game movie.
Yeah. And honestly, this has become kind of famous for, like, being the first good video game movie.
Right, that wasn't Wreck-It Ralph, which was its own type of thing, because it didn't... While Wreck-It Ralph had cameos from video game characters, it wasn't a straight adaptation.
Yeah, it wasn't like a... It had cameos.
Right, but it was the first time that, like... I mean, here's the thing. I know Detective Pikachu came out in 2019, a year earlier.
Yeah.
The only reason why I kind of, like, am a little mad about that one is just because it was kind of like what you expect with that type of, like, mini-game Pokemon video game movie. Sonic was a better movie than Detective Pikachu. Mm-hmm. I mean, have you seen that movie?
No, I have not.
Like, there are things that are in that movie that just,
Now, as for my opinion of the movie, of course I'm going to have a more favorable opinion of the first Sonic movie because I'm a big Sonic fan. I loved it when it first came out. I still love it, but I feel like in order for you to love this movie, you kind of have to be a Sonic fan. If you're not a Sonic fan, you're either gonna hate it or you're gonna be kind of meh on it. A lot of your enjoyment of these movies heavily depends on if you are on board with the franchise or not.
Right, and also like it depended on what you're going into the movie for. But again, like I still think the first movie was better than the second movie. We'll get into the second movie, but very quickly, Sean shared some of his thoughts. He is a Sonic fan just like you are. Mm-hmm. Maybe not to your extremeness, but he does like the Sonic games.
Whatever do you mean?
But he also felt like if Jim Carrey was not in the movie, it would not work.
Jim Carrey is like 75% of why I like the movie.
Exactly. He is the main reason why the movie is good.
Yeah.
And I don't have issues with that. It's just it does feel like were he not there, the movie would have suffered. Granted, I don't know who else you could have put in that role.
Yeah. That is true. It felt like a role that was specifically designed for him to just take the reins of and just go fucking bananas with.
Right. But Sean did understand, there are things in that movie that are annoying, especially certain dialogue pieces. Again, they only have to push The Rock and Vin Diesel so many times because Paramount is the parent company of Fast and Furious movies.
The line where it was like, "Is The Rock president?" That was funny.
Right, that was the one Rock line that did make me funny, because also, there's that Young Rock show where Rock is trying to run for president.
Yeah.
Also, I will say this. The musical choices didn't annoy me as much, because at least they kind of, made sense for, what Sonic is.
Mm-hmm. I will say aside from, having Sonic floss multiple times, I will say, my biggest critique of the movie is the ridiculous product placements. Just the blatant commercials mid-movie.
Yep. But we have to say that because now we're going to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Okay. Would you like for me to give my overall opinions of Sonic 2 first, since you went first for Sonic 1?
Yeah, go ahead.
I like Sonic 2 more than Sonic 1. Although I will say this movie is 2/3 a Sonic movie and 1/3 a random generic Hallmark movie that does not end. When it's about Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Eggman, it is fucking awesome. When it is about Tom, Maddie, and Shamar Moore being sexy, it is fucking dumb. And I can overlook when they go to the subplot about the beach and the wedding, and especially that, although it does kind of test my patience a little bit towards the end when the scene with Rachel and Shamar Moore just goes on for an eternity. But the rest of the movie, when we get the Sonic, Tails, Knuckles team up, when they're fighting Eggman, and some big things happen towards the end of the movie, when Sonic, I already said this, but when the main characters are on screen, I love it, and I love it enough to where I can overlook where the movie falls flat and meanders. I do. Is Sonic 1 objectively a better movie? Probably, but there are things that I wanted to see in Sonic 2 that I got in spades, and as a Sonic fan, all I would love to see is a version of the movie where the dumb shit was, significantly lessened. Now it is Skyler's turn to rip this movie a new asshole.
I feel like the Sonic movie, the second one, it very much was a movie where the highs were higher than the first movie, but the lows were lower than the first movie.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that.
When the good stuff is happening, it is good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When the bad stuff is happening, it's really bad stuff. And it just kind of goes back and forth between the good stuff and the bad stuff. I wish this was more consistent, like the first one was, because if it was more consistent, I think I would have liked it more.
Yeah, there are peaks and valleys in the second movie.
Right. It starts with Robotnik being in the mushroom world and basically his life in the mushroom world. And again, it's just Jim Carrey being hilarious for 5 minutes.
Yeah. What did you think of the introduction of Knuckles?
I I was kind of interested, like, who are the hunters that Knuckles has?
Yeah, who are these people? Oh, no one. They just immediately got destroyed.
Well, they got destroyed by Jim Carrey's genius because he had set up traps beforehand for these three, again showing his genius level intellect.
Yeah, and using Agent Stone and his rock reconnaissance as a weapon. It's hilarious.
The one thing I will say is that, like, in the first movie, some of the puns were bad, but, like, it's Jim Carrey, so I'll allow it.
Yeah.
He could not save all the puns in the second movie.
Yeah, they went crazy with puns in the second movie.
But, like, we get these human-sized hunters that we never see again.
Well, but they're dead, so...
But, like, it's not explained who they are or what they are. They're just here to get their asses handed to them. The introduction of Knuckles and why him and Robotnik are working together makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And it pretty much beat for beat goes by the plot of the third game.
Which is obviously where this movie is most heavily inspired from.
And I will say, when I first saw this in theaters, when Knuckles came out and the first thing you see is his huge fist, the entire theater went, oh, fuck. He's gonna murder somebody.
Right, because that's Knuckles' most defining traits.
Yeah. What'd you think of Idris Elba as Knuckles?
Well, let's talk more about the movie, and then we'll get about Idris Elba and his performance.
Okay.
But I will say that, like, his voice was good for Knuckles, but there were certain points where he played the character weirdly, but that's... We'll get into that conversation more about Knuckles as we go along.
Okay.
So, we go back to Earth, and now Sonic is trying to be basically Batman.
Blue Justice, trademark pending.
Except he's not a good superhero and basically destroys Seattle.
Yeah.
I will say, the locked armed truck guy is easily my favorite side character human.
He's like, you're so bad at this.
He's obviously the funniest person in this whole thing because, like, he's a human that makes sense in this world.
Yeah, he's every couple seconds he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Just stop. You're making the situation worse.
Well, how do you not check under the seat? There's a bomb under the seat. How do you not check? There's a bomb on the back of your head. Get it off.
There's a bomb stuck to your quills. Sonic would be best friends with Peter from Guardians of the Galaxy. You know Peter Quill?
You mean Chris Pratt Mario?
Yeah, Chris Pratt Mario. Full circle, baby.
But yeah, Sonic returns to Green Hills. Again, Wade says hi, and then Wade is like, the one good thing I like about Wade. Here's my question for you, Joshua.
Okay.
This whole thing with the movie, did it feel like they had this one scene in the rowboat with Sonic trying to get a life lesson from James Marsden? Like, that was the only thing that James Marsden did in this whole movie that was good, right?
Well, he does that, and then he helps towards the end when they're fighting the Death Egg robot. But like, the rest of the movie, he does nothing.
Right, and it's obviously, like, he gets shelved because of circumstances that are beyond his, like, reach.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, they had James Marsden in here to do that really Uncle Ben speech, and then he does nothing for the entire middle of the movie until the very end when they do a contrived, this is my family thing.
Well, he plays volleyball with Shamar Moore and his jacked friends.
We'll get to that when we get to that, but, like, the part of my criticism of the second movie is that it's all over the place in how it uses certain characters.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But I kind of understand it because he's already been established in the first film, so it's not like he has to do any heavy lifting in this one.
Yeah, and if they had him more involved, then that would have taken away from the relationship between Sonic and Tails.
Right, which very clearly Tails becomes the friend in this one. They do the scene where obviously James Marsden and Maggie get transported to Hawaii and Sonic has fun. Again, Sonic just abusing the ring, like taking Oreos and then leaving money for no reason, like
and leaving way too much money.
Yeah. And then just trashing the house.
Just destroying the house. At least he's fast enough to immediately fix it.
Yeah. But then they do the whole thing where now they have Tails come in and basically do the scene from the first movie where Tails comes in and like, okay, I need to find Sonic.
Where the fuck is that blue bastard? The exact lines from the movie.
No, it's not. But yeah, now we get like James calling Sonic and Sonic is at the house, and then James talking to Sharmore, which,
Yeah, this was the beginning of my favorite part of the movie, this wedding subplot.
Which was terrible. Like, it introduced something that you ended up liking later, but like I felt like we could have just cut this off sooner.
They could have like shown it a little bit, but they went so overboard with this subplot for no reason. And I don't know why. It very much takes away from the movie.
It was to get Rachel involved more.
But why?
Because we didn't get enough of her in the first movie.
Yes, we did! We got more than enough of her in the first movie. We got systemic racism in the first movie.
Urban America wanted more. I can't tell you what else, man.
Jesus Christ.
And like again, it's not a criticism of the actress. Like she did what she was told to do.
Yeah.
So like whatever.
Yeah.
It just you were not gonna get anywhere with that type of character, the annoying, natty black woman. Yeah,
you're not.
But then we get this introduction where Sonic is alone at home and gets attacked by both Robotnik and Knuckles, and we get the introduction of Knuckles' powers and how he's different compared to Sonic.
Yes. Whereas Sonic is all speed and not much power, Knuckles is a fucking badass.
Well, Knuckles is a tank specifically. He doesn't have Sonic's speed, but he does have more power. When Sonic goes lightning fast and Knuckles just catches him and he's like, "Do I look like I need your power?" and just smacks the shit out of him. Well, except they didn't. They took that part away from the trailer and they gave him a different line.
Yeah, they moved that line to I think an earlier scene, but still, it's still awesome when he
They moved it to after he punched Sonic.
When he punches him out of his ball form and it just makes a huge explosion and it sends Dr. Eggman's popcorn flying. I love that. I love that they made Knuckles a badass in this movie. Because one thing you asked me.
Okay. Let's be clear. They made him a badass in this scene.
Yes.
Because there are things that happens with Knuckles later that kind of take away from this like first scene. Again, this is part of like the up and downness of the movie and certain characters. They established Knuckles as a badass here. Mm-hmm. And again, Idris Elba is at his best when Sonic is introduced to him and realizes he can't beat Knuckles because Knuckles is just too powerful. Mm-hmm. I will say this: they had Knuckles be played kind of like Drax in that he's so forward thinking, he's still stupid in certain ways. That and he's very unfamiliar with American culture, so he doesn't really understand a lot of what's going on. Which is kind of how he is in the games, except as the games went on, you asked me about this, is Knuckles supposed to be a dumbass? In the earlier games, no, he's just a strong dude. He's not the smartest, but he's not fucking stupid. They made him stupid in later games, and it really, really irritated the fan base. In Sonic Boom, he's basically mentally handicapped. Which, actually, to be honest, in many ways, is kind of like how this movie was. In the movie, he started out, like, being cool and being a badass, and then as the movie went along, he kept getting, he turned stupider.
Well, I don't know if I would say that. It's just more of his unfamiliarity and his incredibly Drax-like forward-thinkingness was more exposed. I didn't feel like he got dumber as the movie went on. It's just he was put in more unfamiliar circumstance.
Well, again, we'll get to other parts later as it goes along. Tails comes in with the cop car. And then we get the funniest scene for me with Jim Carrey in this one, where he's just on the cop car and he starts licking the windshield for no reason.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's rabid. Oh
like,
God.
He's like doing a little like her dog thing and like licking the windshield. Like, oh, he doesn't have that thing cleaned.
God. Dr. Eggman is a psycho in this movie, and it's great.
Right. Again, we're now getting fully unhinged Robotnik, which is
yes,
cool.
we are.
So, question: I know Knuckles is supposed to be slower, but he can't run faster than a cop car.
Yeah, I mean, he has some speed, but again, he's mostly just a powerhouse.
I guess the question always just becomes, like, how fast can the characters each run? I know Sonic is the fastest, but, like, how fast is Tails and Knuckles in comparison to Sonic?
In the games, they're usually, like, anywhere from, like, 1/3 to half as fast as he is. The best gauge I have for it is Sonic Heroes, where, in Sonic Heroes, you play as all three characters at the same time, and you switch between them. You have a speed formation where Sonic is at the front, and you're just running as fast as you can. You have the power formation where you're playing as Knuckles, and the speed is, like, halved. And then there's the flight formation where you play as Tails, and they get together like as a totem pole, so we can fly them around, and they're like at 1/4 speed, so it's somewhere around half as fast as he is.
Right. I don't know. It just feels like they really underpowered Knuckles' speed and also Tails' speed in this movie, but I understand why, because again, Sonic is supposed to be the fastest one.
Yes.
They do have this cool thing where now they go to, like, Agent Stone, who's just a coffee maker in Green Hill, which...
Did you catch the name of the shop?
What was the name of the shop?
It was the Mean Bean Machine, which is a reference to a video game, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. That is a real video game.
I'm sure it was. And then we get, when Robotnik comes back, Stone is like, he's back! My love!
My love! It's been too long! Can we go to the back room real quick? I have a raging hard-on for you right now. That mustache, oh my God.
That's the thing, is that in the first movie, it wasn't really that much implied. It's like, he's just a loyal minion. In the second one, there were some homosexual undertones here.
The undertones? There were some overtones in this movie. He was literally drawing his face in coffee.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, Agent Stone is hard. I never would have seen that coming.
Yeah, but then Agent Stone sends Robotnik his robots, and we get the upgraded suit.
Oh yes, we do.
Which is closer in line with the suit that Robotnik wears in the games.
The only thing that's missing is for him to be morbidly obese.
I think that's fine. They didn't have to make him obese. Like, he has to be functional.
Yeah.
And the only thing that was kind of missing was the gold clasp that I associate on Robotnik's, like, outfits.
You mean those big golden nipples?
No, I mean the button, not
yeah, I miss those big golden nipples.
But then we have Knuckles climbing the side of the cliff. You think that Robotnik's going to betray him, but no, he helps him out because Robotnik still needs Knuckles.
I love the delivery of, "You will not deceive me, you will not defeat me with these weapons." Oh, they are stairs.
But it kind of, like, put into your mind that you know Robotnik's going to betray Knuckles at some point. And this is where I think, like, Knuckles should have known ahead of time that Robotnik was going to betray him.
To be fair, it very much plays out the same way in the game. So, in the game, Eggman does pull a fast one on Knuckles and betrays him, and Knuckles doesn't see it coming in the game. So, it may make Knuckles look stupid in the movie, but it is an adaptation. They are doing what they did in the game.
Okay. And then Jim Carrey does flossing.
And Knuckles...
He's the only one that's allowed to get away with it, okay?
And Knuckles responds by saying, "I don't understand a word you just said." And,
right.
And honestly, I'm like, you know what? Same. I don't get it. This movie came out in what, 2022?
Yeah. Well, at least Jim Carrey got his hand broken by Knuckles.
Yeah, he deserved that.
It was instant karma.
Yeah. Although, speaking of Fortnite and how much I hate it, you know how I recently got into Attack on Titan, right?
Yeah.
Guess who they just made playable characters in Fortnite?
Oh, Attack on Titans.
Attack on Titan characters, because they know. Because they know how much I hate them.
Yeah. Anyways, then we go back to Sonic and Tails being in Wade's garage.
Yes.
Everything with Wade in this movie was dumb as fucking Boulder dropped in a... It was drowning a sack of dumb puppies.
Wow.
Stupid, like, idiotic.
I agree. Wade is dumb as fuck in this movie. He was dumb in the first one, but a kind of realistic, like, incompetent at his job kind of dumb. The second movie, they went way overboard with it.
Again, it's like the movie... The filmmakers decided he's not dumb enough for a children's movie. He needs to be Patrick Star level dumb.
Yes, they went the Patrick Star route.
Which I do not appreciate. But then we get to this whole scene with the Long Claw, which...
It's exposition.
It's exposition, but it sets up the compass, which... Explain the compass.
The compass is not a thing in the games, which again was another one of those things where Skyler was like, this is in the games, right? And I'm like, no. And he's like, what the fuck? Basically, this is the Dragon Radar so they can find the Chaos Emerald.
Okay, but how do you find the Chaos... Okay, I know in the Chaos Emeralds, in the games, you find the Chaos Emerald by getting, like, these coins that unlock the stage that allow you to get the emeralds.
The way it works is in every Sonic game, there are special stages, and you have to do certain things to unlock the special stages, so you can complete the special stage to get the Chaos Emerald. So...
Right, I know in the Sonic game that I played, you had to collect, like, 7 coins on every stage that you're on. And once you get the 7 coins, you can transport to the special stage.
The way it's done in each Sonic game is different. So it varies from game to game. But the long story short, you have to get to the special stages to get the emeralds. In this game, they gave you a compass, and they're like, it'll Dragon Radar locate the Master Emerald, go to it.
You mean movie?
Yeah.
Right, which the Chaos Emeralds are... basically the Infinity Stones of the Sonic universe, at least in the games.
Basically. So, they did it a little bit differently in the movie, and I'm not super crazy about the implementation of the Chaos Emeralds in the movie. For one, I mean, we'll get to it, all of the emeralds are way too tiny. Like, the Master Emerald is the size of,
the Master Emerald is the size of what the emeralds should be in the game.
Well, it's like 2 times as big as the regular size of a Chaos Emerald. The Chaos Emeralds can fit in your hand. Like, 1 can fit in your hand. It's not super big, but it's not super small. It's like medium-sized. In this movie, they're freaking pebbles. And the Master Emerald is like 2 times the size of a Chaos Emerald in the movie. In the games... The Master Emerald is humongous. It is massive. You cannot pick it up because it is like it's like as tall as me. So.
And the other thing too and again, this is the little bit of knowledge I know from the Sonic games that I played. Each of the individual Chaos Emeralds has an ability, kind of like the Infinity Stones, over a certain aspect of reality.
Kind of. In the games, they all have the same power, because in the games, the Chaos Emerald basically give you time control powers. They can stop time, they can warp you across time, and the more Chaos Emeralds you get, the more powerful you become, and when you get all 7, you basically become just completely overpowered and broken, and you go super. And it depends on how many Chaos Emeralds you have on hand, and when you have all 7... after you use them, they scatter like the Dragon Balls. Whereas in this movie, they do it a little differently.
Right, which I don't like the change because now you're changing something that's fundamental to the Sonic game. It's a small thing.
Yeah.
But, it changed something fundamentally about how they work and how they function. And again, kind of steals off a little bit of the Avengers idea.
Yeah, it's like an amalgamation of the Avengers and Dragon Ball Z.
Right. But the reason why I'm doing this setup like complaint right now is that we get this whole thing with Longclaw and like the Obi-Wan Kenobi Force Ghost Jedi thing.
Yeah.
Which would have been fine if I'd known more about Longclaw other than the 2 minutes that we got from the first movie.
Yeah.
Again, if Longclaw was a character in the Sonic games, at least it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Although I don't know which character from the Sonic games could have been that like spiritual guide for Sonic.
There isn't one. There isn't one that's like that.
But do you feel like Longclaw would... Okay, now we're going to go back to the games and revisionist history. If Longclaw was in the games as the spiritual guide, do you think it would have been good?
I think it definitely could have worked. It definitely could have worked.
Well, in particular, you probably could have Longclaw be like the tutorial person.
Oh my god. The tutorial person that is in the Sonic games, you remember that little thing that Cream the Rabbit throws, that little chow named Cheese that was broken in Sonic Advance 3?
Yeah.
The guide in the games is a robot one called Omachow, and it is the most annoying piece of shit in the entire universe.
So Longclaw should have been the tutorial guide.
Because it has a loud, squeaky, obnoxious voice. It's always like, I'm Omachow! And you're in some of the games you can actually pick it up and beat the shit out of it, and that's exactly what people do because Omachow is infamously annoying.
Right, and especially because like if you had an owl, because owls are supposed to be wisdom.
Yeah, and owls are cool.
But
my mom loves owls. There are owls all over my house.
But again, revisionist history going back to like what they could have done with Longclaw to make that scene where Longclaw as a Force Ghost Jedi thing mean more.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that Longclaw helped Sonic grow up for, like, the first 2 years of Sonic's life, but it didn't feel impactful because we barely saw any of it.
Yeah, like, there was just a couple passing, like, I miss Longclaw, and that's basically it. You kind of need a little bit more than that, which, again, goes back to our thing in the first Sonic movie where wish we could have seen the Sonic world for a little bit longer than the 3 minutes we got.
I would like to have had them transport to the Sonic world in this movie.
Yeah. Especially since Knuckles ties directly into the conflict of the beginning of the first movie, because his tribe were the ones that attacked Sonic and Longclaw in the first movie.
That also felt like they had to go backwards a little bit and do like a little bit of like revisionist history with this movie.
Yeah.
Again, the Sonic plot not making sense. That's not a surprise.
Also, another thing about the Chaos Emeralds, I did not like where they heavily implied, or if not outright stated, that the Echidnas created the Chaos Emeralds. The Chaos Emeralds were not created by the Echidnas. That is bullshit. It wasn't honestly until Sonic Frontiers came out where they finally explained how the Chaos Emeralds came to be. But up until Sonic Frontiers, the Chaos Emeralds have always just been a plot device. They've always been like this ethereal thing that just was kind of always there. In Sonic Adventure 1, the Echidna tribe tried to use them, but they didn't make them.
Well, which is whatever. And then we get this whole thing where Robotnik meets up with Agent Stone. We get Knuckles meeting Agent Stone. And then we get this one really cool shot where Robotnik's lab is created in the coffee shop, and you see the actual logo of Robotnik.
Oh, yes.
And then the movie immediately goes to the Landmark channel / Lifetime channel, where they do the whole, oh, we have the husband-to-be that's coming to the family, and the brother-in-law that don't get along with each other.
Yeah. And is anyone big fans of useless subplots that go on forever? Because we got one for you.
Again, this was not that bad because it was only a minute or two. But also, like, James Marsden is also a pretty muscular guy, so I don't know why, like, he's playing with a shirt on.
Because they wanted him to be on the Nerd Squad. Because the jocks have to beat the Nerd Squad. It's a cliche, Skyler. Don't you know how cliches work?
Right. And then the other thing, too, is that they use this scene to establish the whole JoJo has the wrong ring thing, which will come into play later.
I'm not going to lie, that got me in the theaters. I actually really liked that. It's just that the subplot around it, if it was just that, and then the other thing, and they didn't linger forever, it would have been better.
Right, but again, this is not where the subplot gets that bad. It's just like a minor distraction thing while we're waiting for the next plane to come up, which is Sonic and Tails transport to Siberia.
I'm very curious as to your thoughts on the Siberian dance routine.
They get transported to Siberia, Russia, and the Soviet Union.
I think Targan.
But yeah, Sonic and Tails show up in a bar in Siberia, which,
When that woman cut that fish's head off and the fish's decapitated head was like, run! I was like, okay, is this a SpongeBob episode now?
Now it's getting into the corny shit.
Yes.
By the way, it wasn't a woman. It was a Chinese guy. It was the woman with the knitting quill with the skull face, which whatever.
It's so ridiculous.
Right. And then we get the scene where Robotnik and Stone are talking to each other, also about Knuckles. And again, this is where Stone hints that, hey, Knuckles is not going to be that useful. Why don't you just betray him? And Robotnik's like, trust me, I know. It's coming.
I'll do it later. Don't rush me. Not like last night in bed. Don't rush me. We've talked about this.
My only thing is that Robotnik and Stone are talking about this, and Knuckles is right standing behind them.
But he's going ... He's distracted.
I don't get it. Listen, I know Knuckles is not supposed to be smart. He's just supposed to be like a meathead or like a dumb blonde. But I know that he doesn't know like Earth conventions, but it felt like dumbing him down for the sake of dumbing him down.
I can kind of see what you mean by that.
I mean, it wouldn't be this bad until later on, which is where I get my real complaint with Knuckles. For right now, I understand it because, like, he doesn't understand what texting is. He doesn't understand what holograms is. Destroys the display screen.
We have killed the tiny hedgehog.
Now let's go after the real one. Again, it's the Drax straightforwardness part of it. Like,
Metaphors won't go over my head. I would catch them.
Yep. But then we get this whole thing where Sonic and Tails basically insult the Russians by not eating their food.
Yeah.
And then they're also like thrown into the fire until they have to fight against the champion of the bar.
In a dancing competition.
Listen.
We were talking about fever dreams earlier.
It was one thing during the Seattle police chase scene when they did Run DMC, It's Tricky. It's another thing when they go to Bruno Mars, Uptown Funk. Like, what is this? Karaoke night in a Siberian bar in Russia?
Yes, exactly. You hit the nail on the head.
This was, again, like, your mileage will vary depending on how much you take goofy humor.
I personally didn't mind it. I thought it was weird and a random way to try to bond Sonic and Tails, but I didn't hate it.
It wasn't the worst thing, just because there were other things on this movie that was worse.
Yes.
Like, again, it depended. Like, the goofy humor comedy shtick would work either with this one. It works with Sonic and Tails and Jim Carrey and Knuckles more than it does the regular humans.
Yeah, that is true.
Now, my one little complaint about CGI as we get into is the sequence where they have multiple Sonics and multiple Tails, it looks worse as it goes on.
Yeah, you could kind of tell when more of them were on screen that it was like, okay, all right, we're kind of stretching our budget here.
You're stretching the animation and, like, especially because the whole lighting of the scene with the lights in the bar, like, it makes it more like, okay, the CGI isn't as solid when it's just two people compared to when there's 10 flying around.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. Like, I don't. Again, we have to stretch the limitations so we know that these are not real. Ultimately, I hate to tell it to you, Joshua, but this movie's fake.
How could you? You mean there aren't blue hedgehogs that run fast?
It's still real to me, damn it.
It's still real to me, damn it. I like chili dogs. They make me fart really loud. Anyway, you continue.
But yeah, I have problems with this just going off of, like, the CGI in certain parts looks worse just because they're trying to do a lot of things with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, hindsight's 2020. So they finally go to the temple in the mountains of Siberia, and they get the backstory on the emeralds, and they go to this really cool thing with the owl sculpture. They get the compass. Then Robotnik and Knuckles come. A fight breaks out because they all want the compass, and they're now chasing each other down a mountain that snow is coming around. Yeah. And, like, in an avalanche.
That was a level. They basically were like, we're gonna do the snowboard level from Sonic Adventure real quick.
Right, and any other, like, snow level that has been in any of the Sonic games.
Yeah.
I will say this. This is probably my favorite action set piece in this entire movie. Like, the robots chasing Sonic and Sonic, like, fighting them off is really cool and really well done. My complaints about the animation in the bar scene where there were multiple Sonic or Tails completely changes because they upped their game here with all the lasers and missiles flying around and Sonic just going through them, being a badass and kicking every single robot's ass.
Yeah. It is a very fun. Like, it is a very fun set piece.
This is probably why, especially when Sonic gets on the one robot who destroys every other robot with the lasers. Like, this was, to me, my favorite, like, action moment. I know there are higher set pieces later on in the movie, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But I liked the the choreographic nature of this one.
The Corey's graffiti was really good, really well painted on this one.
Yep. And then we get Sonic and Knuckles, like, going back and forth on the snowboards. And again, Tails coming into play here. I don't know, what did you think about it? Come on, you talk for a minute.
Okay, so, honestly, I was really into it, and again, it felt like, I felt like I was watching a live-action version of Sonic Adventure, and I thought it was really, even though that's not my favorite Sonic game, I was enjoying it. And then Sonic and Knuckles got into talking. They could have had more screen time with this, trying to relate to each other, because they both, on that day where the echidnas attacked Longclaw, they both basically lost their homes. And they did hint at that.
It's kind of funny that we go like, okay, we have this really cool action set piece. Sonic loses the rings, which is very important.
Yeah.
And then action, dialogue.
Yes.
And dialogue.
Dialogue. Plot. Set piece.
Plot. Exposition.
Details. Film it. Do it. And they kind of have a close moment, and I do like that Tails... I think it was Tails tries to do something, or there was like an explosion, and Knuckles was like, "You lowered my defenses. You betrayed me, Sonic." And then Sonic was like, "No, it just happened. It wasn't my fault." And then Tails gets knocked out because Sonic was careless, and then and I really like how.
Well, what happened is that Sonic tries to throw the compass to Tails, and Robotnik's like, "Yoink!"
Yeah,
missiles. Bye bye, bitches.
Dr. Robotnik, just I don't know how it was possible for him to just sneak in on that little floating pod that he rides on, just to yoink that compass. But since it's Dr. Robotnik, you know what? I buy it. That was amazing. That was.
And also because Sonic was distracted by the whole Knuckles thing, and Tails was distracted by Knuckles, nobody realized that Robotnik was coming in.
Yeah, and then Tails gets knocked unconscious, like Sonic was in the first movie. And it was kind of Sonic's fault, and I liked that really changed Sonic's perspective. And he was like, wow, I really... Because it didn't bother him destroying Seattle earlier in the movie, being not the world's greatest superhero. But this, now there was a friend of his that he made, and now he feels like he was responsible for his friend getting hurt. I did like the character growth that this thrust upon Sonic, one of his friends getting injured.
Yep. Unfortunately, this is where it leads into the second half of the movie, and the subplot comes back.
Yeah, because then they start an avalanche, and they're riding away from it, and of course Eggman and Knuckles get away because they're on Eggman's flying little hovercraft, and Sonic is trying to like call Tom. He's like, "Hey Tom, I know this is bad, but I need you to throw a ring so I can get to Hawaii because it's just bad." And he shows him via FaceTime the avalanche. And Tom's like, "Oh, that looks bad." And he throws the ring, and nothing happens because that's the wedding ring. And the teleportation ring is the one that Shamar Moore has, and he's like, "Oh, shit." And everyone in the theater was like, "Oh, no." So he goes over, and he's like, "Listen, I know this is weird and bizarre, but it'll make sense, I promise. Give me the ring." And Rachel's like, "Ignore him, look at me, give me the ring." And then he just punches Shamar Moore in the face, grabs the ring, throws it, and the incoming tsunami of snow just demolishes the wedding. And then it just starts getting ridiculous.
Well, again, this is where the comedy in this movie comes in.
Yeah.
It felt like, of course, they're going to ruin the wedding with James Marsden having to get the ring back, and the whole punching of the groom-to-be thing was...
Yeah. I'm surprised it didn't break his hand on Shamar Moore's jawline. That man has a jaw.
I mean, that jawline is fantastic.
I agree. But I will say when the rest of the military shows up and the Olive Garden military guy shows up, when it's revealed that the whole thing was a setup, and it was like, "What about the pastor?" And he opens the Bible, and there's a freaking gun inside his Bible. That fucking killed me.
Well, again, we get this whole thing where, like, Sonic is like, "Oh my god, Tails is hurt. What's going to happen?" And then the military comes in.
Yeah, because the military likes to ruin everything.
Right, and it's just... and then the pastor shows the gun and then does the cross, like, "You're a fake pastor."
Yeah. Yeah. And then Rachel was like, "What about the person that waxed my, And everyone's just like, "Okay, all right, this bit's gone on for too long. I don't need to know about that."
And then we get angry black woman.
Yeah, we get more of that.
The military starts arresting people, and then we get, like, why is the military here? And, like, we started a task force, and the task force is known as
the Guardian Units of Nations, or GUN. When I first heard that in the movie theater, I almost jumped out of my seat, because if you're a huge Sonic fan, you hear GUN, you know exactly what's coming next. Because it's one of those things where, depending on your connectedness with the franchise, certain words and phrases equal big things to come. And that, right then, I clenched my seat, and Andy looked at me, because Andy was there in the movie theater with me. She was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh my god, they're doing Shadow the Hedgehog." Although that is to come later on.
That is to come later on. Now here's my question. Is Guardian Units of the Nations friends of Sonic or enemies?
In the games, they are a military organization. They're basically the world's military in the Sonic games. And they usually hunt... They're one of your enemies in the games. They usually hunt Sonic. Although in the second game, it's because Shadow the Hedgehog broke into a place and stole the Chaos Emerald. And GUN was given information, track down the fast hedgehog with the Chaos Emerald. So naturally, they go after Sonic the Hedgehog first. And in the first level of Sonic Adventure 2, is you trying to get away from GUN because they think that you're the hedgehog that they're supposed to go after.
This is not the hedgehog we're looking for.
So yeah, basically.
But yeah, Gun being involved, again, for me, who does no affiliation with the games, that moment just kind of like, whatever. To you, as a big fan, it pops you because, like, you know what's coming.
Yeah, because of the implications.
My thing is that... Hold on, continue.
Because, and another thing, one thing that I did not notice until my second viewing of the game, when they get out of the helicopter in one of the scenes in the movie, the letters SA2 are plastered on the side of the helicopter. Sonic Adventure 2. And that is important because that's the game where Shadow the Hedgehog makes his debut. And when I first saw that, the second time I saw the movie, I got so mad. I was like, how did I miss that on my first viewing? Because if I would have seen that on my first viewing, I would have lost my shit.
Right. But the reason why, like, this part brings on the movie is that we get next 20 minutes.
Yep.
20 minutes of now the black ladies have to be the secret agents against the government agency that is shown to be incompetent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They borrow Tails' gadgets, but still.
The fact that Gunn could not beat Rachel and Maddie, even with the alien technology that they have, is just pathetic.
Yeah, that wasn't what bothered me. The next scene is what bothered me.
I mean, the next scene was what bothered me, but immediately you establish, okay, Gunn is here. Gunn's going to be important. And then immediately make him look like this incompetent military operation that doesn't know what it's doing. Which I'm guessing is in line with the Sonic universe.
Yes. I was about to say that is perfectly in line with the Sonic universe because they're looking for Shadow the Hedgehog and they arrest Sonic. Sonic is blue, Shadow is black and red. It's kind of easy to tell the difference, unless you're colorblind.
Well, here's the thing. In the games, would you describe Gunn as being incompetent, like they can't stop regular people?
I don't know if I would say that.
And I understand, like, yes, they have Tails' technology, and they have Tails' weapons that they're going to use against Gunn. Even then, it's pathetic.
Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous.
Like, again, you're trying to establish this military force as being dangerous, and no, they are not dangerous. They are a joke.
They're stormtroopers.
They're worse than stormtroopers. At least the stormtroopers had a couple of scenes where they were menace to society. In this one, Gunn can't do shit.
Basically, yeah. But again, it's also... It becomes that because, again, this is a kid's movie. And you can't have someone be that ominous and that bad in a kid's movie, I guess.
But it gets worse. Because
yes, it does.
We get the thing where we get Joan Jett and Rachel driving the golf cart.
This scene goes on forever.
No. Hold on. What specifically is bad is that you get angry black woman on the golf cart, on the golf cart, causing chaos and craziness, tries to run over her fiance, and then there's slow motion as she steps off of the golf cart in high heels with a drink while the golf cart smashes into the altar with pyro and explosions going off all in slow motion.
Yeah, I don't know what drugs the people that made this movie were on when they did that scene, but they were certainly on some drugs.
I told you guys in the chat that Zack Snyder take the camera for a couple minutes.
Yeah, it felt like it. It was the most what the fuck scene in the entire movie. Like
at that point, that's when they jumped the fucking shark.
Because, yeah,
you do not have that type of scene in this movie, and you're not taking it seriously.
When I first saw that, I was like, this is a Sonic movie, by the way. This is allegedly a Sonic movie.
And then Sharmar Moore jumps in front of the general with the taser.
Yeah. And lands on their ice sculpture, and he's like, oh, I'm cold. And she's like, because you're laying on an ice sculpture. And
it hurts so much, I'm going to die. Like, oh, come on, the taser, you're fine. Are you not a federal agent?
Yeah. And then it drags. It's like, you know, even though I was a double agent, I did kind of like you. And she's like, oh, really? And then they kiss, and the helicopter with the, whatever their names are, forever, flies past them, and it's a slow-mo. And I'm like, can we get back to the interesting shit, please?
Right. Again, this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the lowest of the low points of the movie was this. Because we get 15 to 20 minutes of this bullshit.
This did not need to be in the movie.
Like, you can have the secret agent be involved, but you want to know what happens when the secret agent is involved? Usually you never see them again.
Yeah.
You do not, like, have the wedding scene and have them come back 10, 15 minutes later, again, with the fucking plane message thing.
What? You did not have to get them two together. They did not have to repair their relationship. All it did was make the scene drag on forever.
Right. You cut that shit out, and you get rid of all the campiness of the movie.
Yeah. The movie would be like 1,000 times better if you shortened that scene a lot.
No, you take the scene out.
Yeah, honestly, like
have Rachel help Maddie save Tom, and like Tom's my true family and stuff. Like,
and then
you could,
and then cut.
Then you would no, and then you'd be like, listen, I know I treated you badly before. I just want to say I'm sorry. I know you love my sister, and I approve of it. And it's just like that would have paid off the setup in the first movie.
Yeah, but no, they had to do whatever the fuck with Shamar Moore for no reason at all. Just that was the worst part of that was the absolute worst part of the movie.
Right. Again, it's just now we're gonna go back to the Sonic part of the movie.
Yes.
Because now we have Knuckles and Robotnik entering the Temple of Doom.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, but hold on. You know how we get like a minute or two of like the whole thing of them entering the Temple of Doom, right?
Yes.
Well, do you want more cornball goofiness? Because I'm going to give you more cornball goofiness.
This, again, I love this. I love this.
What, Wade with the police light on his head on a scooter?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Knuckles and Eggman going through the maze. I will say...
No, we cut back after Sonic and Tails get up like, we have to stop them. We have to do something. We cut back to Wade back in Green Hill with the scooter and the police light on his head, wondering why he can't get into the coffee shop. And then he gets into the coffee shop and tries to stop Agent Stone.
My problem with that is not so much the weird and campy goofiness and him being, like, mentally handicapped. My problem is you go from, like, the super dramatic and emotional Sonic, like, I have to be the one to stop this. I have to make it up to my friend who got injured because of me. And you seeing Sonic growing as a person to just smash cut Wade on a unicycle. And... It is such an abrasive cut from super serious and dramatic to Wade. And it's just like whiplash. Like, oh my god.
Right, and it's one thing when, like, they did the comedy shit with the wedding thing, right? Okay, now it's time to get serious. Now it's time to turn back into the movie that you wanted. Nope, we're going to go back to the comedy just one more time, because why not?
Nope, Wade still has another scene.
No, Wade has 2 more scenes.
Yeah.
And we get, again, the seriousness of Sonic balanced by comedy shit that happened before and after. It just sucks.
Yeah, I didn't hate the scene. It was more this transition from the scenes that was just so jarring.
Again, it's the whole up and down thing, because literally you get the cool snowboarding scene in the mountains of Siberia, followed by 20 minutes of the wedding scene. Then you go back to a little bit of seriousness before you go back to comedy again.
Yeah. This movie will jerk you around like nobody's business.
Right, and then we get Sonic on the island after he has finally run on water, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the whole Temple of Doom thing where everyone's trying to survive the traps that are in the temple. Knuckles and Robotnik, for the most part, do it well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the robots get pieced out.
Yeah.
But then we get, again, more pun shit like with Robotnik, which, if it wasn't Jim Carrey, I would hate this pun more.
And another thing, another thing that I wasn't super crazy about, because in the games, the place where the Master Emerald is called Angel Island, and is a island that levitates in the air because of the Master Emerald's power. In this game, it's under the ocean, and then the ocean just moves, and it's just there. And I was like, but the floating Angel Island is cool. You just made it. It's not even Angel Island. It's just island that's just in the water. It just does not have the same effect.
Well, I mean, the water spouting out and going like Moses just stepped on the island was cool.
It was cool. It's just, but the island floating in midair just gave it more of a majestic, ethereal vibe that I liked in the games, and I just felt this wasn't bad.
But you weren't going to be able to achieve that in the real world. So like,
yeah, well, but yeah, because we already expended the budget creating 20 Sonics and 20 Tails doing the dance thing with the Siberians.
if they had done the thing where like they had to use the ring and transport to like the Sonic world, then you could have like had the ethereal island thing. As it was, it is what it is.
It was fine. It's just what was in the games is cooler.
Yeah. But then Sonic goes through the different traps in the maze, like showing that you can only get through the maze if you have Sonic speed.
Yeah. Although he kind of breaks it and like smashes through it, he's like, "Well, that did not go how I hoped it would. But I'm here. Hi, guys."
Well, hold on. Before that, Robotnik is about to betray Knuckles. Is Knuckles' hearing as an echidna supposed to be better than a human's, or?
I don't know.
Like again, like the betrayal is right there. Knuckles didn't realize it because he's so focused on the emerald, he doesn't realize Robotnik. I understand why, just whatever.
Yeah.
But then we get Sonic and Knuckles going head to head with each other while Robotnik steals the emerald.
Yes. I loved the brawl between Sonic and Knuckles. They did not have to go as hard as they did with this fight.
Well, you know that Sonic and Knuckles aren't going to be fighting with each other again at any point in the rest of the movies. So, like, you had to get this fight here.
Oh, yeah. And it was great. It was great.
It was, although it does lead to, like, a question of who is better. I think Sonic is probably better, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, there's that one part where Knuckles is throwing this 100-hit combo, and Sonic is just dodging all of it. Sonic usually gets the better of Knuckles in the games because he's faster.
Right. How can you hit something that you can't hit?
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. The effects of the emerald are cool. Like, the emerald looks amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not as big as it's supposed to be, but it looks cool.
Although, again, okay, so basically the way the relation between the Master Emerald and the 7 Chaos Emeralds is different in the games than it is in the movie. In the movie, the 7 Chaos Emeralds are trapped inside the Master Emerald. In the games, the 7 Chaos Emeralds are like, the message is given across that they're unstable. They're absurdly powerful. They give you unlimited power. The Master Emerald, like, controls their power. It's like a dangerous electrical surge going through your house, and then getting like a surge protector to stop it, or something like that. That's basically the fun.
If you want to do like Lord of the Rings, there's the one ring to rule all the other rings.
Yeah, basically. That's the function of the Master Emerald, to control and mitigate the power of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. So, and in the games, you do not absorb the Master Emerald. In the games, you absorb the 7 Chaos Emeralds. If you have all 7 and you absorb them, then you go Super. And usually, you don't absorb them unless you have all 7. If you have just 6 of them, you carry them in like your pockets or whatnot. Whereas in the movie, Eggman basically just becomes one with the Master Emerald.
Right, which creates a really interesting character side effect. But again, we'll get to that in a second. Sonic saves Knuckles after Knuckles is drowning.
Yeah.
There is the little bit with the bubble.
Yes, I loved that.
But it also, again, it's a good thing that they established that Sonic cannot swim.
Yeah, and that's...
So, he is risking life and limb.
Yeah, and that is another thing. That is canon with the games. Because in all of the Sonic games, you jump in the water, you're just immediately dead.
Right. Knuckles was able to save Sonic, and then they had this heartwarming moment on the beach. Mm-hmm. Where, like, you know... I'm sorry about what happened. Thanks for saving me and saving me too. We gotta stop Robotnik, all that stuff. Yeah. And you wanna know how they end this transition?
How do they end this transition, Skyler?
By going back to Wade.
Yep. And Wade and a butter knife.
And the display bagel.
It's like, I've tried everything, but I'm going to get answers out of you. What would you like on your bagel? Just, oh my god. Seriously?
Again, the Patrick Star shit. But again, it serves its purpose because Robotnik shows up in front of Agent Stone, and Stone, like, oh my god, I'm getting hard.
I love, like, Eggman's like, I'm more than okay. I'm upgraded! And just grabs Agent Stone by the face. I can smell the electricity in your brain. As if he couldn't get more unhinged.
Right. And then Robotnik with the Emerald is surrounded by Gun.
Yeah. Who are so good at their jobs.
Which, by the way, how was Gun able to mobilize their troops and be able to move all the way to the fucking other side of the country? They went from Hawaii all the way to Green Hill in not much time.
Well, yeah. They got there fast. Which,
By the way, I have a question. Does SA-14 mean anything in the Sonic universe?
No.
Okay, SA-14 doesn't mean anything.
No, that one helicopter where it showed SA-2 on the side of it, they did that on purpose because, Sonic Adventure 2. That was probably just... Was that on another helicopter?
No, that was on one of the tanks, SA-14.
Okay. No, that was just like their in-universe explanation. Oh, that's just the name of these vehicles. Or their designation.
Right. SA-2 being on the helicopter is obvious reference to Sonic Adventure 2.
That was just them being very... That was the first one they showed, just so they could, put that little Easter egg in your head to set you up for later.
Right, but the whole thing is that this helicopter takes them from Hawaii to Montana that quickly.
Apparently.
Again, plot holes within this.
They must have had extra sonic quills to plug into their helicopters to make them move really fast.
I guess. But then Eggman shows up with the outfit, which looks amazing.
Yes, it does.
But again, we get this whole thing where now James Marsden finally gets a part in the movie.
Yeah. And then Eggman creates the massive and beautiful and glorious Death Egg robot.
Which is in the games.
Yes.
It's just not as big.
Yeah, in the games, honestly, because in Sonic 2, where the Death Egg robot comes from, they rip off Star Wars, and there is literally a Death Star next to the planet that Sonic is on, except it has Eggman's face, so it's called the Death Egg. And the last level of that game is you go onto the Death Egg and fight the Death Egg robot.
Well, of course, we can't forget Agent Stone. Take me with you!
Take me with you! You have a giant robot dick, and I want that so bad now!
Again. Crazy.
But, and I love that, they continued him having a thing for, music, because then they were like, World Domination playlist, and it starts playing Pantera, and he starts dancing to it, and the robot's dancing too.
Yeah. Again, then Tails, Sonic, and Knuckles show up on a biplane, which I don't know how they got a biplane so quickly, but whatever.
That is Tails' plane, the Tornado. That is something that he has in the games.
Okay, fine.
And then we get what my favorite action set piece in the movie, because again, I mentioned how my first Sonic game and my favorite Sonic game is Sonic Heroes, and in that game you play as 3 characters at the same time. You have a Sonic Heroes team up and fight in this game, and it made me so happy.
I would have liked it more if the robot wasn't as clunky.
Yeah.
The robot, there's a reason why fighting a giant robot works sometimes and doesn't work other times.
Yeah, because it is so big that it's kind of slow.
Right, and of course, how is the robot supposed to be able to hit Knuckles or Sonic or Tails?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they figured out how to make the robot work in its environment.
Yeah.
But again, with Jim Carrey's craziness with Robotnik, it's of course he's gonna do the ham finger walk thing.
Yeah, of course. And another thing, while I was at the hospital, in the waiting room, I got a message saying, "Oh my God, Snot Rocket, Joshua, did you write this movie?"
Well, specifically this part, because of course you would make the robot do the chicken wing dance. Of course you would make the robot do a snot rocket, or make the robot do dance numbers while kicking Sonic's ass. I mean, yes, I would have had him do that, but if I wrote this movie, that whole wedding thing would have been vastly shortened. Right, so no, it wouldn't have been in the movie. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, they do the whole thing where now it's the 3 of them are working together because they have to beat the thing. Mm-hmm. They realize the only way that they're going to beat it is because Sonic is in his head rent-free.
Yes.
So distract him while we get inside and then attack him from within.
Faster, Fox! You're so heavy. That's because I'm 1,000,000% muscle!
Okay.
Thank you, Idris Elba.
Again, I don't think Idris Elba was bad, but there were points where I'm just like, okay, you are just Drax 100%.
Yeah, he totally was Drax multiple times in this movie.
Which, again, it's like, it's not a bad thing. It's just like, I understand it to be Knuckles' character from the game, and that Knuckles, he's a bit of a meathead, but, like, when he wants to be, he can be smart.
Yes.
I wish they didn't make him as dumb as they do in the game sometimes, which...
There's a part in Sonic 06 where they're like, okay, we have our final plan, we have to save the day, let's move out. Everyone moves in one direction, except for Knuckles, who moves in a direction where there's nothing in front of him. He's like, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Turns around and runs in the same direction everyone else. Because they made him so stupid.
Right, they didn't make him that dumb in this movie, but there were points where I'm just like, okay, I understand, enough of the games from Sonic to understand that Knuckles is not as smart as Sonic, but don't make him, Neanderthal stupid. They didn't do that here, but there were, little things here and there where I'm just like, okay, that one was weird.
Yeah.
But again, paying tribute, I guess.
Yeah.
But then, we get the whole thing of, the final climax where Sonic is about to be destroyed along with his family. And do you want to know why I hated this part of the movie?
Because it's such a cliche.
It's not just that it's such a cliche, but it's so out of place.
Oh, you mean the whole Tom is Sonic's dad now?
Again, it's like we get the one scene with the boat at the beginning of the movie, and we don't get any of that for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
And then we get the Chaos Emeralds turning into Sonic's body, which, with no explanation.
Well, in the games, the Chaos Emeralds' powers react to emotion.
Okay.
They react to positive emotion.
I just wish that that scene was not as contrived. If it was...
You would have liked it if they would have expounded more on that beforehand.
Even during the wedding thing of as cheesy as the line would have been, you want to know what Rachel should have said after not marrying the guy to Tom?
What?
Rachel should have been listen, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, we are family, right?
Yeah, something like that. A throwaway line would have helped.
I know it would have been a ripoff of Vin Diesel and Paramount's pushing a family and friendship. But
yeah.
At least it would have, set it up.
Yeah.
Me
personally...
The first movie pushed the whole thing of, you don't have to be a loner. You can always find friends. That was fine, and it was pushed throughout the movie. They half-assed the family aspect here.
I don't necessarily agree, because you build off of what happened in the first movie, even though they didn't have it as much in this movie. It probably would have worked better if Tails and Knuckles were also there, and it was we're all a big family or something like that. Because you did spend a lot of time with Tails and Knuckles in this movie, not as much with Tom and Maddie. Do you think it would have worked better
if all five of them were about to be crushed, then you could have had the family thing. It wouldn't have been as contrived.
But I'm not going to lie. When I was in the theater and we got Supersonic, Andy had to calm me down. I lost my shit. Because I did not think they were going to do Supersonic in the second movie.
They kind of had to, just because of what was going on, and have Supersonic destroy Robotnik.
Yes, he eviscerated Robotnik. Which, it made me think of Sonic X, because... especially in the first two seasons, whenever Supersonic comes out, he immediately one-shots whatever the big bad is, and it's glorious.
Now, of course, here's the thing, is that they did leave Robotnik's death as ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're gonna write off Jim Carrey, that's the best way that you can write him off.
Yeah, if he decides not to come back for the third movie, then this would be fine. It would be very disappointing to not have him in the third movie, but this would be a very logical way to get rid of him in the second movie if he does not come back. But they left it open enough where if he does want to come back, they can come up with like, oh, I landed on my little flotation device thing. I just had it hidden because I'm smart. Haha. Eggman always has an escape plan.
Well, I mean, it would have been like, I mean, he was falling off of a robot from thousands of stories up in the air.
Yeah.
So he was gonna die one way or another.
Yeah, they left it open enough where it depends on what they come up with their excuse for how he's not dead if he's in the third one.
Yeah, just don't do Emperor Palpatine shit from Rise of the Skywalker.
Just don't have Tom come on screen and say, somehow Dr. Eggman returned. And that's it.
And I'm a clone.
And have Dominic Mahanigan say, secrets only the Robotniks knew.
Although if we want to make a really bad parody, we could do that.
Oh, God. And then have Eggman and Agent Stone awkwardly kiss at the end of the movie, and then Eggman just die and vanish. And Agent Stone say, I'm Agent Robotnik now. What's your name? Agent. Agent who? Agent Robotnik. Sonic 3, The Rise of Robotnik.
The last 5 minutes of the movie is where, like, it starts to get a little, like, okay, you can wrap up any time now. I know the chili dog thing was, like, to relieve tension.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sonic being able to create chili dogs, and then it lands on Knuckles' face, which, again, the CGI was bleh.
Yeah. The onions on that chili dog looked so fake.
The chili dog was horribly animated.
The first one that Sonic ate looked fine. The second one that landed on Knuckles looked very generously like PS3.
Right, and then the whole thing is that Knuckles, when he has the chili dog stuff on him, it looks so bad. Like Knuckles in that particular shot is not animated very well. And the hot dog bun landing on top of him was even worse.
And honestly, like, I know that you have a couple issues with it, like the whole family dynamic thing. My biggest issue of the whole thing is I don't like the idea of Sonic calling Tom his dad, because I don't really feel like they have a friend relationship, not a father-son one. I just felt like that was just very weird. They could have
gone with mentor and mentee relationship, and that would have been fine.
Yeah.
The dad part was weird.
Yeah.
Okay, Knuckles being able to reform the Emerald was weird.
That he does that. Okay, so in the games, in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, the Master Emerald breaks, and Knuckles' story is finding the pieces of the Master Emerald to reassemble them. Because in the games, Knuckles lives on Angel Island guarding the Master Emerald. That's his job. So what he does is he will get all the pieces together and reforge them. So it is something that he does in the games.
I don't know.
Although again, the Master Emerald is supposed to be a lot more massive than it was in the movie, which again disappointed me. I just want to see a shot of this enormous green emerald glowing in all of its magnificence. But now it's just like 2 times the size of a regular emerald, whatever. But then we get to the post-credit scene. Unless there's something else you want to bring up before we get to that.
They do the baseball scene, which is a throwback to the first movie, and now Sonic has friends and family.
Yeah.
Which again, like, if the movie wasn't as contrived about the family relationship thing, then I could have taken it. But like,
I liked it, although, again, it would have benefited if Sonic spent more time with Tom and Maddie throughout the movie, instead of them just being in Hawaii at a wedding.
Yeah, but then we get the whole thing of, like, Gunn is trying to pick up the pieces, Agent Stone is pretending to be one of the Gunn agents, which is a setup or something, I don't know what.
The idea is if Eggman is dead and he's not in the third movie, then Agent Stone will take his place.
Is Agent Stone a throw to any character in the Sonic universe?
No.
Unless, like, it's revealed that he's... Is there any other human villains besides Robotnik?
Gerald Robotnik, but that's about it.
Which Gerald is his father, right?
Gerald Robotnik is Dr. Eggman's grandfather.
Huh?
It's his grandfather.
Okay.
And this is where we get to the part of the movie where, like, I lost my shit during the supersonic thing. This, I jumped out of my seat and started yelling. I was so happy.
Right. We get the whole thing where Gunn is, like, trying to explore Robotnik's history, and then they realize, wait a minute. There was a facility that was found, and the facility has been there for 50 years. Mm-hmm. And what's in the facility?
Project Shadow. And you have this stasis chamber rise from the ground, and Shadow the Hedgehog opens his eyes and cut to black. Okay, so in Sonic Adventure 2, 50 years before the events of the first Sonic game, Dr. Eggman's grandfather was trying to, like, create a cure for his granddaughter Maria's disease because she was dying. And these experiments led to the creation of Shadow the Hedgehog, the ultimate life form. But Gunn stormed the facility they were on, the Space Colony Ark, to shut down the project, and they killed everyone associated with it, including Maria. They shot her right in front of Shadow and traumatized him. So that's what makes Shadow one of the big bads in Sonic Adventure 2, because he wants revenge on humanity. And I really, really hope they do that storyline in Sonic 3.
Right, and the other thing, too, is that as good as Jim Carrey has been in the first two movies, it is good to get some of the other Sonic antagonists in there.
Yes.
You don't want the Sonic movies just to revolve around Jim Carrey. The strength of the third movie is going to depend on how well it does without Carrey's presence.
If he's not in it, because there is still a good chance that he's going to be in the third movie. And considering that if they do basically do an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2, you kind of need Eggman because that anchors you to Gerald Robotnik, because that's his grandfather.
It goes both ways, but again, the problem with the Sonic movies, as good as they are, is that if Jim Carrey is not on screen, if Sonic is not on screen, the human actors become bad. It wasn't as bad in the first film as it was in the second one.
Yeah, I will say some of the things that weren't that great in the first movie, they tripled down on in the second movie. I love the second movie because it caters to me as a Sonic fan. But I can totally see someone who's not invested in the Sonic universe getting very irritated with some of the shit they do in this movie.
Right. We'll see. Again, I don't necessarily hate the second film, but there were, again, points where I just kept groaning, and I didn't do that as much in the first film, and that's a problem that I have.
Yeah, the first one, it depends on whether or not you're a Sonic fan. It won't make or break it for you. The second movie, I feel like, if you're not a Sonic fan, you're probably not going to like it. So if you being a Sonic fan will determine whether or not you like the second one.
Even you, the Sonic fan, was groaned out by the wedding scenes, or like the Wade scenes.
Because
like, it's just...
the Wade scene did not bother me as much as the wedding scene, because what bothered me the most about it is it just dragged on forever, and it would just not stop. And it just did not need to happen. It did not serve any purpose. It did not factor into the plot at all. It was just this offshoot hallmark, these two people like each other bullshit, and it just was so out of place.
Which, personally, I think that's just Paramount, the movie studio, just, like, going off on it. Just like, we're just going to keep doing it. Let's get our things in there.
Yeah, and it worked out oh so well. I do like the second movie more than the first one because, like you said, the highs were higher. But I will say, like, objectively, the first movie is probably structured better.
The first movie is structured better. There isn't as much risk-taking as there is in the second movie. It's just that if the lows were not there, if the wedding shit had been cut short, or if they had cut out the scenes with Wade in it, or at least not make him as goofy as he ended up being, it would have been a better film. Because, as you said, when the action sequences were happening and stuff was happening with Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, stuff was happening.
Yeah, it was
when
great.
Jim Carrey was on screen, it was electric. When anything else was happening, it was bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I think now we've talked about the Sonic movies, let's go into the Mario Brothers movies.
Okay.
Because we have another movie that we have to talk about
in
this 3-hour-long podcast.
Sean is going to see the length of this video and go, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you?
Well, I mean, to be fair, like, talking about these movies does, like, require... I know in the beginning we said, do we have to review the movie scene for scene? But actually, now I'm thinking, like, yeah, you kind of do.
Yeah.
But let's get into this one, the Mario Brothers movie. Now, we will still mention the Sonic movie because we're going to make comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
But can you do me a favor, Joshua?
Yes.
I feel like in order to, like, properly gauge this movie, we have to make more comparisons to the first movie rather than the second one.
Yeah, because we don't have Mario Brothers 2 yet.
That, and also, like, what they did in the Mario Brothers movie was closer to the first movie than the second movie.
Yeah, because it was mostly just
establishing characters.
Yeah, it was establishing the world. It was a setup movie.
Right, which, like, as much as the second movie had things that were in it that you could compare to the Mario movie,
mm-hmm.
the first movie is where we need to compare.
Yeah.
With that in mind, may I give you background on the Mario movie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go nuts.
Have you ever seen the piece of dog shit 1993 movie?
No, I have not.
Do you ever plan on seeing the dog shit 1993 movie?
Honestly, I might go back and watch it soon. I haven't decided.
Well, don't. Or if you are, get heavily hammered or drunk or monstered out before you watch that piece of shit 1993 movie.
I've heard things. For example, that it's awful.
No, it is awful. Bob Hoskins is a tremendous actor. 5 years earlier, he made that Who Framed Roger Rabbit animated movie. So you would think that Bob Hoskins would be that person to be in the movie as Mario, and he has the look for it.
Yeah.
God, it's bad with him. And it's not his fault. What happened with him and the person who played Luigi, John Leguizamo, do you want to know what these two motherfuckers did?
Oh no, what did they do?
Every single scene that they shot drunk because they saw the script and like, oh my god, this is going to be a terrible film.
Well,
they had to drink 2 or 3 different bourbons just to get through because how bad the movie was every day.
That does not sound like a good work environment.
Given the movie, yeah. The 1993 movie was shit. And that's why, like, Nintendo has been very protective of Mario over the years, and, like, they've never made a Mario movie before, and with good reason.
Yeah, that could kind of sink your entire brand.
It almost did. They did do, like, different TV shows, and they did do different, like, adaptations, like anime stuff, kind of like how the Sonic did, like, that kind of thing. The idea of a movie did not happen until maybe November when Sony originally wanted to do it.
Yeah, Sony was like, let's make a Mario movie, and Nintendo's having war flashbacks and PTSD of that other movie.
Yeah, and now here's the thing, is that, do you know who Sony originally wanted to direct the movie?
Who?
Genny Torofsky.
Don't know who that is.
He's the guy that made Samurai Jack.
Oh.
And he's also the one that made that 2002-2003 animated Clone Wars special thing. He also made Dexter's Laboratory. He made Symbionic Titan. He made Primeval. He did a lot of really good animation stuff.
I don't know if his style would work with Mario, though.
If you made it like a noir style, honestly, that would have been interesting. But no, they eventually went with Universal and Illumination. Now, you know who Illumination is, right?
They did the Minions.
They did the Minion movie. Well, here's the thing. They did Despicable Me.
Yep.
And then they did the series of spin-offs with Minions and the other Despicable Me movies, and the Secret Life of Pets and Sing movies.
Now, more movies I'm never going to watch. Those Sing movies look like the biggest pieces of fucking garbage I've ever seen in my life.
They also did a couple of Dr. Seuss movies known as The Lorax and How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I saw The Lorax, and I thought it was fine.
But it wasn't good, and it completely did not sell the message of what The Lorax was supposed to be. And the How the Grinch Stole the Christmas movie was also really bad.
And we discussed earlier Hop. And that went so well. That nearly killed Easter.
Oh yeah, Hop was just bad. So with that in mind, do you want to know what Illumination and the comparison I'm going to make is?
What is the comparison?
Okay. This is going to take a little bit of time in order for me to explain this. But I'm going to try and be as intricate and explain it as I can.
Okay.
Illumination is all elite wrestling and specifically Tony Khan.
Yikes.
Now let me explain this. They have a really big budget. They have a passion for the project that they want to do, and they have some idea of how it's supposed to work. And again, that enthusiasm combined with talented people made the first Despicable Me, which was somewhat of a success. But then the success went to their head, and they were like, you know what? Let's make more movies. Let's make even more movies with even more budget. And while sometimes it looks good, most of the time it looks bad. And then the productions kept getting worse and worse, and those early successes couldn't be counted on because everything that they made after the early successes kept getting worse and worse. Now, do you want to know where Nintendo comes in?
Oh, no.
Nintendo is CM Punk, who has come in to give them a shot of life.
Oh, my God, that is accurate.
Okay, listen. I've been involved in some really bad things in the past, but everyone remembers me for the good stuff. So let's focus on the good stuff that I can do. But I say what happens in my particular segments. You get very little say other than how it's going to be produced, and we'll go from there. But if you do something I don't like, I'm going to slap you. Understand?
That sounds pretty accurate.
And that's pretty much what this movie was with Mario Brothers movie, is that Nintendo came in and said, okay, Illumination, you can make the movie, but if you do anything stupid that you do in your previous shit, we will slap you.
Oh, and real quick, by the way, Skyler, you mentioned AEW. You know they're making another show for Saturday called AEW Collision?
Yeah, and because that's the show that CM Punk and his people are going to be on.
Oh, Lord. Tony Khan.
Listen. We didn't want to talk about professional wrestling after WrestleMania because the shit that we've been hearing has depressed me, Joshua, and Sean to the point where we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, basically.
That's why, we're doing like this.
Yeah.
It's whatever. But anyways, the whole point is that with this movie and Illumination, you had a studio that has had success in terms of, making visually awe-inspiring movies and having great, set designs and great action sequences, but with not very good plot devising and not very good script writing.
Yeah. I can also confirm that as well.
Now, Joshua, what are your thoughts going into this movie, you not being necessarily a Mario Brothers fan?
I was more just curious than anything else. I mean, I am a video game fan, and Mario, as much as I love Sonic, Mario is the most iconic video game franchise of all time. And it looked like, from the trailers, the movie looked beautiful, and it looked interesting, and I was just more curious than anything else. Plus, all of the Chris Pratt memes, me constantly calling the movie Super Pratt Brothers, that whole thing. I was like, I hope it's good. It looks like it's going to be good, and I was just curious, and I wanted to go in, and I went to go see it. And I didn't really have any expectations going in, but I very much enjoyed my time watching the movie.
Right. Something to keep in mind is that this is going to be a children's film. That's not a knock on the movie. It's just that it's going to have that type of sophistication in terms of how it's made.
Yeah.
And in particular, when it comes to this particular movie, you're going to have a situation where you have to, like... The Mario Brothers movie was very simplistic in nature, but that's all it needed to be. It didn't have to be complicated. Would I have liked a little bit more complication? Sure, but I'm not going to be like poo-poo over and saying, "Oh, this movie is dumb because for kids or whatever." Like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Like again, I'm 25 years old, and Skyler's older than me. Neither of us were like, "Oh my god, this is a dumb kids movie" the whole time. It was a fairly engaging movie. It wasn't anything like mind blowing or different or unique. I mean, it had a fairly generic plot, but based on the IP that it was on, they were basing it on, and considering your whatever knowledge you have of video gaming or of the Mario franchise, that's another thing. Like with the Sonic movies, whether or not you're into Mario will heavily determine whether or not you like this movie or not.
Right. Now, let's go ahead and start talking about the movie. The movie opens up with the scene that we've seen from the trailer, which is Bowser and his minions are attacking Penguin Land, and they're attacking the penguins for the sole purpose of getting the star.
Yes.
Which, in the Mario Brothers universe, is the equivalent of the Chaos Emerald.
Basically, yeah.
Now, obviously, we have talked a little bit about Jack Black. He is fantastic in this movie.
Yes.
He's not quite on the level of Jim Carrey, but the way that he talks and the way that he takes lines and just enhances them is nearly on Jim Carrey's level.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Jim Carrey and Eggman became, like, inseparable. They, like, became one. Whereas in this movie, you can tell that it's Jack Black being Bowser, but they're not, like, one sentient being. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is clear. Now, they immediately cut from the thing of, now who's going to stop me, to the Mario Brothers rap.
Their little commercial for their plumbing agency.
Which is a throwback to the Mario Brothers show. In fact, the woman that voices that female in the commercial was the original Princess Toadstool in that show.
Oh, really?
Yep. The thing with the Mario Brothers movie is that they throw so many goddamn Easter eggs to previous Mario games and previous Mario subplots. So you'll have to forgive me as I pull out all the references.
Well, let me tell you real quick. There was more Mario references in this movie than there was Sonic references in both Sonic games. And honestly, one thing I will concede, this movie more than the two Sonic movies, where the Sonic movies you liking Sonic the Hedgehog in the first place will determine whether or not you like the movie. With the Mario movie, it was similar, but I feel like non-Mario fans could also enjoy this movie. It was more catered to everyone than the Sonic movie.
It was E for everyone, just like the Mario games.
Yes.
Again, it's the audience that you're playing to, because Sonic games has always been geared more towards edgy teenagers.
Yes. Exactly.
And while the Mario games were always geared towards everybody. Now, the thing is that the references, the one thing I'll say about the references, they did at some points like crowbar in a reference here or there. But, I mean, it's a nitpick. It's a small nitpick.
Yeah.
But then we get the whole thing where they get Spike and they introduce Spike, which,
And then we go meet Mario's family, and of course they don't care about his dreams or aspirations because, you know...
Well, before that, they show Mario and Luigi platforming in Brooklyn.
That I loved. That I loved.
It's an introduction to like what it is that they do, and I like it. And then they go into the whole thing of showing them doing their job with the dog, which failed miserably. Yeah. That was the part of the movie that felt the most like Illumination getting its shit in, like, come on, we have to get the thing in with the dog.
Yep. I know exactly what you mean. This could basically... You could take this scene out and put it in any Illumination movie, and it would fit in perfectly.
Not that it's bad for Mario and Luigi. Like, it is what it is. It's just like, of course, they had the smart-ass dog. That dog comes in later, but, like,
Yeah, just like Paramount was jacking itself off during both of the Sonic movies, Illumination was like, oh, I'm going to rub myself off a little bit here as well.
Right, but that wasn't like the bad thing that Illumination did in this movie. There was something they did later that was more offensive, but it's not the worst thing. But then we get to the whole thing of Mario's family. They did one thing that was really good. They had the original voice actor for Mario, Charles Martinet, who played Giuseppe in the pizza shop earlier, and like he gave the thumb of approval for the commercial.
Yeah.
They also had him play Mario's dad. I'm glad that they got Charles a role in this movie, but didn't have him play Mario.
Yeah, it was good to hear his voice.
Because the problem is that if you had that Charles is very good at sound bites, which is what Mario is, but having that voice talk the entire movie would have been a problem.
That would have been very annoying very quickly. And, possibly a little problematic as well.
Right, it's just,
And another thing, speaking of that, Chris Pratt, despite all of the jokes and memes about him being Mario, he was perfectly fine in the movie. The trailers just made him sound terrible.
They were clearly like first or second takes that they just kept in the trailers for some reason.
Yeah. Especially that Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. That was such a bad line read that they just punctuated that first commercial with.
Yeah. But again, the early part in Brooklyn I liked because we got all the classic like Mario things, like Luigi's phone playing the GameCube opening sound, the different sounds of Brooklyn attuned to the Mario music. Brian Taylor is the composer who adapted a lot of the music from the Mario games. So each and every song is from one Mario game or another.
I could kind of tell. Even though I'm not the biggest Mario fan, I could kind of tell.
Right, because it comes from either Super Mario, the original. I think there's a couple. We'll go through it as we go through it. But then Mario, he's in his room again. There's Star Fox in there, which I'm like, oh come on, please don't tell me you're gonna give us a Star Fox movie at some point. They have Legend of Zelda on there. They have all the other IPs in there, and again, Mario is like disappointed because he feels like a failure to his family, and Luigi's trying to assure him that no, you're not a failure. At least not to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little bit of the emotional subplot of this movie, which is about family. Oh, jeez.
Are we sure Paramount didn't have anything to do with this movie?
And this is the one criticism I kind of have in this movie, is that we get this whole scene where like Mario and Luigi are trying to save Brooklyn, and they fail miserably again.
Yeah, Brooklyn gets Seattle.
Brooklyn gets Seattle. Are we sure that Sonic didn't just roll by on the armored truck and start the water mains?
Yeah, probably. And that's another thing that I want to bring up, even though we'll get to that eventually when we get to the end of the movie. They introduced the conflict with his family and brought it up for like 10 seconds near the end, and that was it. The setup was good. It's just they really did not pay that any attention throughout the rest of the movie, except for Mario's dad being like, oh, the superhero, that's my son! And that was it.
Right, that's the one part of the movie I feel like they kind of like let down. This movie is 92 minutes. It is very, very fast-paced.
Yes.
Because they're trying to push a lot of things in there.
Yeah, they throw things at you really fast in this movie.
Whereas I kind of wish that the Sonic movies would have like slowed down a little bit, but like introduce more things and like go faster. I wish the Mario movie had slowed down a little bit. It needed an extra 15 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. Even though I was enjoying everything that was happening, I was like, man, we are jumping around a lot here. We're not things are happening that is not given a sufficient time to breathe.
Right, which is the Illumination AEW part of this, is that it's going really, really fast without letting it breathe. Had you have extra 15 minutes and maybe another 2 or 3 minutes in Brooklyn, maybe another family scene, you could have like enhanced it more.
Yeah. And also them just vaguely referencing the family issue that they had, especially the line where Mario's dad was like, "Yeah, that's my son." It just makes his dad seem like even more of a dick. Like he's trying to like steal the spotlight, saying, "Oh yeah, the son that I just chewed out and made really sad at the beginning of the movie. Now that he's done something cool, now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm cool being his dad now."
Right.
It made him seem like a dick.
It would have been like something we'll get to the final battle in a minute, but we'll get there when we get there. But they are trying to save Brooklyn. They fail. But as they go down like the pipes of Brooklyn, they see this one green pipe, and Luigi gets sucked in. Mario goes to investigate, and then he gets sucked into the pipe too. And then they're transported through the pipes. And this scene where they're transported in the sky through the pipes was amazing.
Yeah, it was very visually impressive. That's probably one of the highest points of this movie throughout the entire time. It was very, very visually impressive.
Yep. But then Luigi gets separated from Mario. He gets taken to the Badlands while Mario gets shot into Mushroom Kingdom itself. And Toad comes in like, "Hi, I'm Toad. You were looking for your brother? Let's go see the princess. And let's go."
Yeah. Hop two, hustle! Why are you moving so slowly, Mario?
Again, it's like
rapid fire.
It's an absurdist way of like logic and stuff, like have how fast it moves, but it's whatever.
Yeah. And one thing, and one reference that I did pick up on when they went back to Luigi in the Badlands when he had his flashlight wandering around, I was like, "Yep, they're totally doing Luigi's Mansion."
In fact, they play a little bit of Luigi Mansion's theme in the music when he's exploring the Badlands.
And then Dry Bones started chasing him, and I was like, "Ah, you motherfucker from Mario Party 8, I hate your guts. Why are you so good at that game?"
But also, it's the whole thing of, like, they're doing the Last of Us zombie thing, where here come the zombies chasing Luigi.
Yeah.
And then Luigi gets into the dried-out, like, mansion. He's hiding, like, he thinks he's safe, but he's not safe. Because here come the Shy Guys. And then the Shy Guys rape Luigi.
Oh my god! What? Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
No, they didn't actually rape Luigi. We're not. If it was a 1993 movie, they would have raped Luigi.
Jesus. Anyway, moving on.
But anyways, Mario is... They explore Mushroom Kingdom a little bit, but, like, again, we only get a brief glimpse of Mushroom Kingdom, which is disappointing.
We got as much Mushroom Kingdom in this movie as we got of Green Hill Zone in the Sonic movie.
Right. It's just, like, they have to speed through it. Again, had they slowed down a little bit and just given us an extra, like, 30 seconds to a minute in the kingdom to explore, that would have been fun. Again, there are references all throughout. This doesn't seem to be working. Well, all you have to do is just blow on it. A reference to the Nintendo cartridges from the 64 game that you had to blow on.
I loved that. That made me and Andy laugh.
Right. Again, references to like how coins in this world are just abundant.
Yeah, just everywhere.
Mario, like, okay, these blocks just are floating in the middle of the sky for no reason.
It was very self-referential.
It was very self-referential and also making fun of, like, concepts in Mario games that, like, make no sense. Like, why are there blocks floating in the middle of the air for no reason?
Yeah.
But then we get to Peach's castle. Peach is holding a conference with the Toads, like, okay, Bowser has the superstar. He's going to be on his way here. We need to stop him. But we don't have an army. Well, I'm going to go talk with the Kongs and see if they can lend me their army.
Yeah. What did you think of Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach?
I think she's good as Princess Peach. I don't get why people are like, oh, girl boss, boo. Like...
Yeah, I don't see that complaint either because she does stuff in the games. This is not out of character for her. And she's also, you know, the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom. It's not outside... And also, it's a video game. So, like, I don't know.
I think it's one of those things where, like, after a while, it's like, you can only do the princesses get kidnapped, she's in another castle thing, which they did reference that too.
Yeah, they did.
But, like, you can't only do the princess capture thing for so long before it gets tiresome. You have to have, like, Princess Peach show that she is competent as a ruler and knows what she can and cannot do.
Yeah, if they would have done Bowser kidnapping her and that was the plot, it would have been very, very just like, really, this is what we're doing? Because that's been done millions of times. I'm glad they did not go that route.
The only thing is that because they didn't have Princess Peach be the one to be captured, they have to have Luigi be captured.
And that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's happened in some of the games, right?
Yes, that happened in Super Mario 3 where Luigi... Well, actually, that happened in Super Princess Peach where she has to save Mario and Luigi. The only problem with this at that point was that Luigi... Once he gets captured by Bowser's minions and after the interrogation scene with Jack Black and Charlie Day, which was incredible.
Yeah.
Luigi is sidelined for basically half the movie.
Yeah, after Luigi gets captured, he's just not in the movie, like, at all.
Like, I would have liked it if they had 15 more minutes of screen time, include a scene or two where Luigi is trying to escape.
Yeah.
Or, like, he's trying to rally, like, the other prisoners to rebel against Bowser.
Yeah.
But no, once he gets captured, he's like, okay, I've accepted my fate.
Yeah, and they tried to do the two brothers fighting as one bit at the end of the movie. But since we've only had a couple scenes of Mario and Luigi together to build that relationship, it doesn't hit as hard as they want it to because they have spent such little time together.
Well, the whole thing is that they're brothers, and they establish it in the first 20 minutes of the movie. It's after the first 20 minutes where Luigi gets captured, and you don't see him until basically the fight at the end.
Yeah.
And you get a couple of minutes of them talking to each other.
And that's it.
You don't get that love there. I mean, it's tough, but I understand why they made the sacrifices that they did.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, this is also part of the film where, like, maybe you could have, like, Luigi trying to escape, he fails, and then he has a flashback scene where he gets in trouble with his dad, but Mario's there to protect him from his dad.
Yeah, because his dad's going to rape him.
Okay, no. Okay, you have gone too far now.
Help, Mario! Dad's penis is in my bottle! Oh, mamma mia!
Oh, Jesus.
It's almost 3 hours in. Give me a break.
Fair. You've been controlling yourself for the first 2 hours of this film. I have to give you, like, a little bit of, wild and crazy.
Just wait till you hear the intro to this podcast, my good friend. There's no rape. But
yeah, like, I wish there was more, like, you could have done the flashback scene to, one, establish more of the family dynamic of the father who doesn't approve of the sons, but the sons love each other so much that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Artistic choice.
Again.
But then Mario, like, talks to Peach and, like, I need to save my brother. Well, I'll take you. It does lead to a funny thing where the Toads are like, who the hell is this guy? And Peach is like, he's not important.
Ignore him.
Ignore him. He's unimportant. Yeah, and then they do, like, the training montage scene. Here's where the major complaint I have and the biggest Illumination jack-off thing that comes in this movie. The training montage scene with Peach and the licensed music.
Yeah.
I understand they had to go with late 80s, early 90s rock themes, but, like, I'm only 28, guys. Like, come on. I'm not that old.
Yeah, they did go a little crazy with some of the tunes that they decided to play. And sometimes I felt like it clashed with the movie.
Right, like, the one with the training scene with Peach wasn't that bad as the one that comes later. But, like, I can't even remember the song. I don't remember what the song was.
I don't either.
But there are a couple of other ones that we'll get to which I remember more because of, like, God, that was so terrible. But anyways, they do the training montage scene, and Mario is getting better. And like, okay, now let's go meet the Kongs. They have this little scene where like they travel through the worlds, and like it's really cool watching them travel through the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have, as much as I would like the scene to be longer, they do have a heartfelt scene with Peach and Mario where Peach explains like there's whole universes out there to explore, and Mario's like, "Wow, that's amazing." And again, the whole thing of like, I gotta save my brother and stuff. And there's a little bit of a begrudging relationship between the two.
Yeah. There's with the time constraints in this movie, they tried.
But it didn't hammer us over the head with, oh, Mario and Peach are gonna get together because lol.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'm glad they didn't do, because in the games, yeah, it's kind of implied that they kind of like each other, but they don't go all the way with it in the games. It would have been weird if they went all the way with it in the movie.
No, they do go in it with the games, in particular with Mario Galaxy, where Peach invites Mario to the dance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get your point, but like, it's not. At least they didn't hammer it home like they did in like. Well, we'll get to that in a second. But then we get this great scene where Bowser's like, "Oh, Peach, you are the love of my life," and then he finds out, wait, there's a human that's with her. I am not concerned. Plays the piano.
Plays the piano mournfully.
But before all this, he plays this song called Peaches. That only Jack Black could get away with playing this song.
Yes. That is the theme of these three movies. Jim Carrey and Jack Black doing things that only they could get away with.
And again, it's like the way the song is animated is already spectacular with the the way that like Peach is viewed in Bowser's mind, but Jack Black and the way he just sings the song is just it tickles your gut laughing.
Yeah, it was very funny. Them making Bowser a simp was the best thing ever.
Because that is one of the things that happened in the Mario games, was that Bowser was a simp for Peach.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things where like they made Bowser out to be this bully that wants to love, and if he doesn't get love, it's like, but I want this girl, but you can't have her. But I want her. 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 I want her.
Yeah. I'll steal her. And I love how that one Yoshi was like, but what if she said...
No, that one Koopa.
Oh, it was Koopa. Again, not the biggest Mario fan. That one guy was like, but what if she says no? Immediate incineration.
And I'll destroy the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah. And they were like, yay!
And the guy that dies just like, I guess I'm now doomed to be a zombie for the rest of my life.
Oh, now I'm dry bones. Great.
Yeah. But anyways, the Mario and Peach and Toad travel throughout the lands. All the different lands are references to different levels in the Mario games. And of course, the Yoshis that are running around in that one scene was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of spoiled the end credit scene, which...
Yeah.
But we'll get to that when we get to that. They get to the land of the Kongs.
Mm-hmm.
And the land of the Kongs and the way it's designed, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was like Wakanda for
Wakanga! It was Wakanga!
Wakanga.
You're not wrong.
But this is where, like, the licensed music started to annoy me. There's that beautiful scene where the Kong is driving Mario, Peach, and Toad to see Cranky Kong, and they have Take On Me.
Yeah, they sure did. It was weird. They
couldn't play any of the Donkey Kong themes for that. They had to use that.
I know, song. Right? I was thinking the same thing. Like, Donkey Kong has his own games, you know.
I mean, this part of the movie definitely felt like, hey, if you guys like this enough, would you want to see a Donkey Kong Country movie?
Oh, I will say my one complaint, even though he did an okay job, I don't like Seth Rogen as an actor or a person. So when I heard that Seth Rogen was Donkey Kong, I groaned. He was fine in the movie.
He was being Seth Rogen. He wasn't being Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna play this giant, immature man-child.
Yeah, that is Seth Rogen.
That's his one role in every single movie he's ever done. I mean, Seth Rogen was fine. He wasn't like...
It worked for Donkey Kong. It worked for Donkey Kong.
It worked for Donkey Kong, but that wasn't the person that a lot of people had problems with. The person that a lot of people had problems with was Fred Astaire being Cranky Kong.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a lot about Cranky Kong as a character, so it didn't bother me.
Cranky Kong was the original Donkey Kong in that latter levels with Mario. He was the original Donkey Kong, and then Donkey Kong Jr. is his son, who obviously is here, as Seth Rogen. The main problem with this voice is that Donkey Kong sounds like Seth Rogen, which works. Fred Astaire playing Cranky Kong was terrible because it did not sound like an old monkey. It sounded like just Fred Astaire just playing something.
I'll take your word for it. It didn't bother me that much, although I have heard that a lot of people did not like that performance.
He was the one voice actor that everybody universally didn't like. And it wasn't that he's a bad voice actor. It's just that he was playing a character that was not the right voice for that character.
Yeah.
But anyways, the whole point is that I need an army. Well, you can't have my army. You're going to give us that army whether you like it or not. Oh, that sounds like fighting words. Why don't I have you fight my son?
Fight my son.
Video game logic.
Yeah, basically.
But that's how we get to this Super Smash Bros.-esque level where Mario has to fight Donkey Kong. We get a really quick cameo of Diddy Kong being a loser.
Yeah.
I was very happy we got. Diddy Kong being the Skyler in this film.
Wow.
Skyler.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Damn. Don't do that to yourself, man.
I'm here too. Shut up, Skyler. Okay.
You're not in that group chat anymore. It's okay, Skyler. You are a valued member of our trio, man.
Yeah. But anyway, we get this fight scene where Mario has to fight a giant gorilla. What did you think of it?
I thought it was really funny that he immediately just got his ass kicked.
Because, of course, a normal human is not going to beat up a giant monkey.
It was a lot less gruesome than it would normally have been under similar circumstances.
Oh, that's fair. And the whole bit where he turns into where he gets the blue mushroom, and oh, he got the wrong power-up.
Yeah.
Again, that was one of the worst lines of dialogue in the film.
Yeah, that one was a little too on the nose.
Yeah, it's an elimination that's like, no. But then they get Cat Mario, and of course the meme of the movie, now you die.
Yeah. Now you die.
But then they have Mario beat up Donkey Kong, which is cool. And again, it just shows that Mario, no matter what, no matter the odds, will always keep trying, which is essential to Mario's, like, the core of his character, and also to the core of the gamer that has played the Mario games, that, yeah, you're going to suck in the beginning, but you keep trying, you're going to get better, and you're going to continue to progress, kind of like how the games are. I
very much liked that was a central aspect of his character, that no matter what, he's going to keep trying and he's not going to give up. It almost made him feel like an anime or shonen protagonist.
I mean, that's what Mario is, basically. You have to remember that he is a Japanese character from a Japanese video game. So that's one of the things that they pushed early on, was that he's going to have the same type of... In many ways, this could have been an anime, like, shonen protagonist origin movie. But anyways, they get the Kong army, they do the Mario Kart building scene. Yeah. And they have the Mario Kart theme building for it, and that's awesome. And then they ruin it by playing Thunderstruck.
They did it, and it was great, and then they ruined it.
Which, I like AC/DC, and I thought, Jesus Christ, you're going with more 80s music? Come on.
They went overboard in this movie with that shit. And even I was like, man, They love these kinds of songs. I mean, if I was thinking about playing a song during a Mario movie, I don't know if AC/DC would have been my first choice.
Right, and that's the thing, is that I'm giving shit to the Sonic movie for playing Uptown Funk, but at least it's relevant. Like, Thunderstruck is at least 40 years old at this point.
It honestly felt like whoever was making this movie literally just plugged in their Spotify playlist.
No doubt. I will say this, I'm glad that, like, the licensed music stopped here, but they get this beautiful scene where the carts are all going on Rainbow Road.
Mm-hmm.
Bowser's like, finish them, and sends his army after him. And you get this great battle scene in Mark's Kitchen. No, sorry, not Martha's Kitchen. You get this great battle scene on Rainbow Road. My bad. That's a work thing for you guys. Just, you know. Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think of the Mario Kart scene?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it could, just like everything else in the movie, it could have been a little bit longer. It was fun. Then it was over. I know,
it's like, come on, can we restart the game?
Yeah, it was. But I will say, when that one Goomba, what was it? What's it called? Not the Yoshis, but the Koopa. When that one Koopa just screamed, "Blue Shell!" and just jumped off of his thing, me and Andy both were like, "Oh shit!" Because we knew exactly what that meant. I was like, "Oh no, someone's about to get knocked unconscious." Because blue shells are always the spawn of the devil.
Yep, it's the worst thing in Mario Kart, and the thing that everyone in Mario Kart hates, which is exactly what it was here in this film.
Yeah, and it even spun around before it went down directly on them, and I love that the attention to detail as far as Mario-isms in this movie was great.
Again, this is made with the level of care and satisfaction and love. Because Illumination, they are, again, enthusiastic about their project. They go crazy, but they are kept in line about certain things, and they had to keep in line with how the sounds and things of the game work. It does lead to a thing where Peach and Toad are the only ones that make it back, because Mario and Donkey Kong fall into the abyss and get eaten by a giant eel.
Yeah.
And all the Kongs get captured by Bowser's army.
Yeah.
And they get taken to Luigi's prison cell, and they all find out, well, you're all about to be ritualistically sacrificed for the wedding.
And that one blue thing is like, yes, the sweet embrace of death.
Whoa! Too dark.
Pretty dark.
That character of the Blue Star Luma is amazing.
It was very funny. It was just saying the most nihilistic shit ever.
In the most childlike voice.
I know, the contrast was just like, oh my god. They're going hard with this thing.
Honestly, I thought, is that Joshua?
Wow. I mean, I'm not blue, abba-dee-abba-die. I'm a very white, skinny boy.
Oh, until you drink the blue Monster Energy.
That is true. Those don't taste as good as the green ones. And Sean drinks those because he's a pussy.
Ooh.
Shout out, Sean. We love you, Sean. You know what? You can clap back at me if you're ever on Super Jam Session again. If we ever get decent, work communication timing things correct.
I'm sure we will. It's just kind of tough because,
Yeah.
We all have different schedules. We all have different things. We're lucky that I'm able to do this today.
Yeah. Because you recently got your work schedule changed around where you're off on, Sunday and Monday.
Which I don't love because I like my Fridays and Saturdays off. Those are better days, personally.
Yeah.
But, again, it is what it is. But then, Mario and Donkey Kong get eaten by a giant eel. Thank God Illumination had the restraint to not do a fart joke here.
Yeah.
They did a burp joke, which is like, okay, I'll allow it because at least it wasn't the fart.
Yeah.
Mario and Donkey Kong escape. They interrupt Bowser's wedding, what did you think about the Bowser wedding part?
I thought it was funny, but I could kind of tell where it was going. And then when Peach, grabbed the ice power-up, me and Andy were both, again, like, oh, shit. And then she started freezing everything. I was like, is this fucking Elsa? Let it go.
I was like, I was like, let it go, let it go.
Yeah, Bowser, let it go. God.
Yeah, but like that is from the Mario games. Like, there's a couple of games where Mario is forced to save Peach from a wedding that's arranged by Bowser. Because Bowser's plan is basically to force Peach to be married to him, so that way he can rule both the Mushroom Kingdom and his own land by political marriage.
Yeah.
And also because he genuinely loved her. Never mind the fact that he has a wife.
Yeah, and just forget about that entire piano montage earlier in the movie.
Right, but again, it's from the Mario games. I believe it's from Super Paper Mario, and also a couple. I think it's Mario 3, but I'm not sure. This is where like my knowledge of the Mario games kind of like starts to get a little iffy because I didn't play the original 80s games, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But the point is that Peach gets a scene where she gets to be a badass with the frozen power-up, and then her, Mario, and Donkey Kong working together saves all the prisoners, including Luigi, and Mario and Luigi are reunited.
Yeah.
We also get this cool fight scene where now Mario and Donkey Kong working together with Donkey Kong having the fire power-up, beat up all Bowser's army.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome, although, again, it ends as soon as it starts. And I was like, oh, come on, that was so cool. And then they just stopped. Because again, everything in this movie, everything in this movie was 100 miles per hour.
And again, they have to reference every Mario game that's ever been made.
Yeah, in the span of 5 seconds.
In the span of 5 seconds. But Bowser gets out of the ice, becomes angry, sends a giant bullet bill towards Mario. Mario takes the bill, goes to the original pipe that he came to the Mushroom Kingdom in, and he does something stupid.
Yeah.
The bullet goes inside the pipe, which causes an explosion.
Yeah, he destroys Brooklyn.
And destroys Brooklyn. Which, I understand why they had to have them go back to Brooklyn. It brought the entire Mario universe to the regular world, which was funny.
Yeah.
But
you
all those family conflicts.
But you destroyed Brooklyn.
But you destroyed Brooklyn.
Why'd you do that, Mario?
But again, Bowser is pissed, and he starts beating up Mario, and you start seeing, like, scarring on Mario, because he starts getting a black eye, he gets bruised up, his mustache is, like, burnt a little bit because of the fire.
Yeah.
And again, it's the whole thing of, like, they are really... And everyone else is trying to help out Mario after he gets punched into the punch-out bar, wink, wink, nudge out to the boxing games that Nintendo has.
Mm-hmm.
And Donkey Kong, Peach, and Luigi are trying to beat Bowser, but Bowser's too strong. Mario hits this moment where, like, he's down on himself in the bar, and then he sees the commercial of him and Luigi, and he gets inspired, like, I have to save everybody. I have to be the hero of Brooklyn.
Yeah, the city I just destroyed.
Yeah, and where's Captain America?
Oh, I wonder how many civilian casualties I've incurred here.
I know. But then Mario comes out bravely, is like, I'm not giving up, I'm gonna beat you. They coordinate their way somehow to get the star to Mario. And Bowser almost kills Mario, but then Luigi comes in and is like, family.
Rock, Vin Diesel, Fast and Furious 11, coming to theaters in 2025. I know, right? It's never going to stop. If The Rock or Vin Diesel die, they will reanimate their corpses just to make more Fast and Furious movies. I'm surprised they haven't done that with Paul Walker yet.
I mean, The Rock has a daughter.
Yeah. She's in NXT.
Yeah, she is. I wonder how long until she joins the Bloodline.
Oh, boy.
That's how they get Roman versus The Rock. The Rock's daughter joins the Bloodline. Roman gets pissed at her and pushes her away. The Rock comes
No. Roman gets pissed at her and gives her a Superman punch. And The Rock is like, how dare you touch my daughter? Oh, man.
The Rock says that in his most South Carolina drawl.
Yeah. Yeehaw! WrestleMania 45, Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Roman's still the world champion at that point. He's been champion for like 3,000 days. And then he beats The Rock. Oh, and then in WrestleMania 36, he loses to The Rock's daughter, make it full circle. So The Rock's daughter is the person to beat him.
No, we know Charlotte Flair's gonna go over. Woo.
Yeah, everyone bows to the Queen, even Roman Reigns.
Woo. But no, we get Mario and Luigi getting the superstar, and this was the moment in the movie where, kind of like with you with Sonic and the Chaos Emeralds, I jumped out of my seat. I'm like, hell yeah!
It was awesome. Then they just started beating the shit out of everything.
Well, also the point where like there's like 40 or 50 kids around me. I'm like, oh, sorry, I was so loud, but this is really hype.
Yeah.
But they beat up Bowser, and they beat up his entire army, and they finally defeat Bowser, make their parents proud. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Bowser gets turned into a tiny little mushroom Bowser thing, and then they imprison him in a little thing.
Yeah.
It's a funny little bit where like he's trapped in a bird cage with a piano.
Yeah.
Who I am? You know who I am? I'm not Bowser. Door closed.
Yeah.
But then Mario and Luigi had their goddamn hero moment, and now they're living in the Mushroom Kingdom, and leads to more adventures.
That tells you something right there. They had that whole thing with their family. Like, you saved Brooklyn even though you blew it up. We love you now. Mario and Luigi are like, oh, that's cool. We're going to go back to the Mushroom Kingdom because we kind of hate you guys.
Although it did show that they had a green pipe that could take them back to Brooklyn, so I'm sure they commute. That's a hell of a commute, man.
Yeah. I'm surprised they aren't like criminals because Mario did kind of blow up the city.
Well, I mean, Sonic got away with it, so why can't Mario?
Yeah. Mario's red justice. Trademark pending.
The red blur.
No, he's Italian justice. I could feel your soul dying a little on the inside when I said that.
But yeah, just imagine like that commute going from the Mushroom Kingdom to Brooklyn for plumbing jobs.
Yeah. And then like getting currency from Brooklyn, taking it to the Mushroom Kingdom, and they're like, this is what money looks like in the real world. And they're like, that looks boring. Here's our big cool looking coins.
That are unlimited in nature.
Yeah. Who would have thought the Super Mario World's currency is more valuable than ours?
Somehow they have literal gold coins that are worth more than ours.
Yeah. We have worthless pieces of paper.
Yeah. But again, then they do the whole, like, after scene thing where a Yoshi egg is in Brooklyn and it's going to hatch. And
yeah.
Here's my thing about this movie. I wish that this movie, the Mario Brothers movie, had a little bit longer of a running time. It wasn't as fast, so it could have more, like, emotional moments.
I agree.
Or, like, longer scenes to everything that's happening. But for all my complaints, the Mario Brothers movie is a good film, and that's what it needed to be. And hopefully to start the Mario Brothers cinematic universe.
I agree. Me being the Sonic fan here, I very much enjoyed the Mario Brothers movie. Although, again, it was very fast-paced, and some of the music choices were a little questionable. But it was a perfectly fine first movie.
Right. And Sean had the opinion that the Mario Brothers movie was better than both of the Sonic movies.
Mm-hmm. We forgot to mention his thoughts on the second Sonic movie, by the way.
Well, what did he think about them? Tell me what he thought about them.
Well, I thought you had it, but basically, long story short, he kind of had the same opinion that we did, where he said, basically, the movie would not be anywhere near as good if it wasn't for Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, and it was very hit or miss, and it had peaks and valleys. So basically, he agreed with us.
I think with Sean, it's kind of like with professional wrestling, that you can take a little bit of absurdism, but if you take too much, it's like, okay, come on.
So I feel like I already know the answer to this question, but of the three movies we discussed, which one did you like the most?
Obviously, the Mario Brothers movie, Although I think Jim Carrey was the best actor of the entire 3 movies that we saw.
I would agree. Me personally, I think my favorite of the 3 is the Sonic 2 movie because of the highs that movie reached. I can forgive the lows in that movie because certain things happen in that movie that I just genuinely loved. But objectively, I think the most well-made movie... Honestly, I feel like it's somewhat of a tie between Sonic 1 and the Super Mario Brothers movie. Because, while Sonic 1... They were both setup movies. They both set up for things to happen later on. Whereas I felt like the Super Mario Brothers movie had pacing issues that the Sonic movie did not have. But the Sonic movie had more just goofy, weird, dumb stuff that the Mario movie did not have. They had their own strengths and weaknesses.
Right, both movies could have borrowed from each other. The Sonic movie definitely needed more of the restraint that the Mario movie had in terms of like not doing as much of the goofy shit. The Mario Brothers movie, even though it was an animated kids movie, didn't have nearly as many moments, especially Sonic 2 and the whole wedding thing.
Yeah. There was no long, obnoxious thing. There was a little bit of that
in the first movie around the Black Sister, but you kind of could understand it in the context of, like, she doesn't trust the brother-in-law, which is every single plot device you've ever heard from the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah. But them doubling and quadrupling down on it in the second movie was just like, why? Why does not need to happen?
Affirmative action.
Yeah, basically.
But the other thing, too, is that the Mario movie needed more screen time that the Sonic movies had. And it needed, as much as it was cheesy, the emotional moments of family and friends themes that the Sonic movies pushed in order to make the Mario Brothers movie hit more.
Yeah. Yeah, the Sonic movie, even though it was kind of cheesy, they did those parts well, where the Mario movie did it a little bit, and then they just kind of dropped it, and then they kind of picked it back up at the end of the movie.
Right. The one thing that I did see is that critics didn't like it, which... Like, critics are trying to review it as if it was, like, a movie on its own.
Yeah. I have noticed that the Sonic movies have gotten, like, Rotten Tomato scores in the 60s. Doesn't the Mario movie have it somewhere in the 50s?
58%.
Which I feel like is harsh. It is not a bad movie. There are some critics out there... There are critics out there that are excoriating, honestly, that have just dumped over all 3 of these movies. And these 3 movies, I mean, they might have their problems, but they are not bad movies.
Right, although I understand what they were saying by the whole thing of, like, the plot is really, really thin, and it's poorly paced. I understand that.
Yeah.
My thing is that, like, you're expecting plot in a Mario Brothers movie?
Yeah.
Because the games themselves did not have much plot.
Yeah, honestly.
The plot was the princess has been captured. You need to save her by running through the entirety of Bowser's army.
And beat the shit out of a giant turtle.
And various bosses.
Yeah. And same thing with the Sonic plots are not that intricate. It's just, you're a blue hedgehog, there's this fat scientist who makes robots, stop him. And collect Chaos Emeralds and rings. That's it. So... I don't know where critics are like, this is a movie, but is it art? That kind of snootiness just annoys me.
Right. But, again, we'll see what happens. Again, as far as everything else in the movie, I know we gave shit about Chris Pratt, and we joked about Chris Pratt himself. The trailers did not help. He was perfectly fine as Mario.
Yeah.
I wish the accent was a little bit more highlighted, but I'm not angry at it.
Yeah, he was perfectly fine in the movie. The trailers made him sound a lot worse than he actually was. They did him a serious disservice.
Yep. And as far as the future for both of these franchises, we know that there's a Knuckles TV series that's coming out starring Idris Elba, which should be interesting to say the least.
That should be interesting. But man, I'm not gonna lie. Shadow the Hedgehog is my all-time favorite fictional character. And
the fact that he's going to show up in the movie that's coming out in 2024.
Dude, you do not understand how hype I am for that shit. when the trailer for Sonic 3 comes out, that loud, high-pitched squealing you're going to hear all the way from South Carolina to California, that's going to be your boy JoshAgeddon. I'm going to lose my shit. I can't wait to see in the third Sonic movie to see a little girl get shot. I can't wait.
Right, and meanwhile, the spin-offs of possible sequels that will happen with Mario, you know that they're going to have to do it because, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's the highest grossing video game movie of all time.
Oh, yeah.
As of right now, it's made $678 million on a $100 million budget.
Damn.
So, I don't think it's going to quite get to $1 billion, but the Mario movie is going to be a success no matter what. They're going to make a sequel. They're probably going to do a Donkey Kong Country movie and also a Luigi's Mansion movie.
I would be down for all of that. I'm not super crazy about Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, but I'd be down for it.
But I want Charlie Day in the Luigi's Mansion movie.
Charlie Day was really good as Luigi.
Right, like as far as casting goes, the best cast people was Charlie Day as Luigi and Jack Black as Bowser. I think Anna Taylor was good as Peach, but like she didn't have enough to sink her teeth into.
Honestly, I feel like anyone could have played Princess Peach.
That's the thing, is that you could have replaced a lot of the people in this movie except for Jack Black as Bowser. He was the only one that stood out, like he made the character.
Yeah, K. What's the dude's name? K. Peel. What's his name? The guy that played Toad.
Keegan Michael Kay.
That's his name. He was fine as Toad, but again, all you have to do is talk like this, and all of a sudden you're Toad. Anyway, but yeah, so that is our, Jesus Christ, almost 3.5 hour long talk about both of the Sonic movies and the Mario movies. But long story short, they're not bad movies, they're not the best movies ever, but they certainly are movies that exist.
There are movies that if you have time on a Saturday or Sunday and you're not doing anything, sit at home, get some popcorn, get the loved ones together and watch it.
And if you are a fan of either franchise, the movies are like, you should probably watch them. They're must-watches if you're fans of either of the franchises.
Yep, because let's be honest, like, these movies are made for us.
Yeah.
Who have been fans of the video games and the franchises for so long.
So, Skyler, I have a question. Let's say a couple years from now, we have Sonic 3, we have a couple more Mario movies. You want to do another episode of this where we talk about those movies?
Yes, and again, we could always do film reviews, because I'm sure there are going to be other movies that come out that we're going to be interested in watching.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly...
The only way you're going to know is like, share, and subscribe to SJS.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And hopefully this channel will have more videos out soon instead of it being a tri-monthly thing.
You mean tri-yearly at this point?
Tri-yearly thing. And so you were just talking about that. Guess what movie series I watched last week that I'm going to be doing a review of on my YouTube channel, TAW Gaming? The 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. Because I hate my life, apparently.
So, why?
Because I've heard that they are the worst movies ever, and I just had to see for myself.
Well, here's the thing. Have you watched Twilight?
Yes.
Which was worse?
Dude. Twilight... Okay, the first Twilight movie is perfectly fine. New Moon is boring. Eclipse is boring except for when they're fighting. Breaking Dawn Part 1 is absolutely hilariously pants-shittingly atrocious. And Breaking Dawn Part 2 is fine. The 50 Shades of Grey trilogy wishes it had the quality of the Twilight movies, let me just say that. But
so a movie about sex isn't good.
But for my more detailed opinions on the 50 Shades movies, you'll have to like, comment, and subscribe to TAW Gaming to find out whenever I get those videos together in the not-too-distant future. But, as far as that's concerned, not only subscribe to SJS, subscribe to TAW Gaming, subscribe to the Court Martial Podcast. Sean and Skyler have some new videos coming out. I believe that y'all are going to be recording NWL versus ACPW soon.
Yeah, whenever we get the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, one of the things are, like, we haven't been doing stuff because, again, professional wrestling. The things that we keep hearing and seeing about professional wrestling make us sad to not want to, like, do it as much. That's why I'm hoping that we can get SJS more so we can talk about other things.
Yeah, because, we love wrestling, even though it's kind of an abusive relationship at this point. We have other abusive relationships in our lives. Like, Sonic makes us sad sometimes, especially when black women are involved. Mario goes a little too fast, and there's rape. So anyway, what a way to end the podcast. Good night, everybody. See you guys next time whenever we post us talking about dumb shit.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And it may or may not be, it'll probably be problematic. Goodbye, everybody.